This is indeed the Michael K. Show. We thank you for joining us on a very busy Monday, October 14, 2024, loaded with New York sports. National League Championship Series will begin Game 2 at 4 o'clock, and the American League Championship Series will begin with Game 1 tonight at 7:30. So we've got it all covered. Giants with a tough loss yesterday. The Jets with a big game tonight against the Bills on Monday Night Football. So we'll get right to it. Michael, Don, and Peter with you. How you guys doing?
Michael?
Not too bad. Could be better.
Really? Oh. Yeah.
Well, it was a tough night.
No, for your teams, it wasn't what you
Well,
meant.
I'm good with the Giants. I mean, I thought they put up a decent enough
your
showing
defense is
considering
looking
the
like
injuries
something.
and all that stuff. But the Mets, that game was over quick, man.
Now, let's talk about that a little bit, because once the Met game starts, obviously we will not be breaking down last night's Met game. So let's start off with that. Carlos Mendoza has made very few bad moves this year. And since we weren't on the air when they decided to start Kodai Senga in Game 1, it does make you curious why they did that. I mean, even in the game against the Phillies, he gave up a leadoff home run to Schwarber and then ended up pitching 2 innings. Why are you going to Senga when you have Peterson, who has been so good, waiting there to start? You could have started Peterson and saved your bullpen. Instead, Senga was awful. He had no velocity in his fastball. He had no control, no command. And, they broke out early, and then the Mets had to cover all those innings starting in the second inning with their bullpen. That's not productive. Don, I don't get the obsession with Kodai Senga if he's not stretched out. Why are you going with an opener when David Peterson has been one of your best pitchers all season? Why not just start him? He was ready to start.
Well, I guess just because they want to see if they can get more out of Senga. He pitched well in the first game against the Phillies, gave up the home run to Schwarber, but he calmed down, and then you brought in Peterson, and it was a formula that worked to start that series off with a win because he scored some late runs, and it worked. And I guess they figured this is probably the recipe. Maybe we can stretch him out. He's a part of what we do. He's supposed to be our ace, and maybe, just maybe, he's able to find it, and we've got an extra piece to our arsenal here. And if he doesn't have it, well, then we can just go with Peterson, and it worked in Game 1 against Philadelphia. And I wonder how affected they were, Michael, by the fact that the Dodgers are going with an opener today. And you've got Manaea, who is right now, I guess, your ace with Senga not finding himself yet, and say, we've got such an advantage in Game 2. Let's see if we can steal Game 1 without having to use Manaea. And then we got Manaea up against their opener. All you're looking for is the split anyway. Maybe we get lucky and steal the first game and go up 2-0. I wonder how motivated they were by the pitching matchup today. And I think it might have played a role.
Yeah, but let's break that down, because Flaherty actually made today better because he pitched 7 innings, 2 hits, didn't allow a run. In fact, the Dodgers gone 33 straight innings without allowing an earned run. So their bullpen was recalibrated and reset. And the last time they went with an opener, Ryan Brazier, and that was in the must-win against the Padres, they pitched a shutout. They had all those. The one strength of the Dodgers is their bullpen. The starters are awful. They don't have enough starters. So if you have a chance to start David Peterson, why not do it? Why are you going with an opener in Game 1? Because one of the advantages the Mets have over the Dodgers, Don, is the Mets starting pitching is okay. They've got pretty good starters.
But the thing that killed them is the fact that they were 3 hit. So now the fallacy of the predetermined outcome, how much of that had to do with the fact they were down early and it just made it very difficult for them to be able to manage anything. But they were shut down by Flaherty. So would it have really mattered, Michael? Peterson didn't exactly have it either. So for all we know, he would have given up a few runs, and instead of losing 9-0, maybe they lose 4.
But I get that. But why the obsession with keep going back to Senga? He's not stretched out. The most he's giving you is 3 innings. Why? I don't get it. He gave up that home run to Schwarber, then he gave up the runs in the first inning yesterday. And as you said, the offense shut down. They were behind the 8 ball right away.
No, they were in the wanker bad base running when there's still very much a game. They were just dead. I don't know what it was. They've been off since Wednesday. The flight shouldn't have bothered them. They just looked completely
maybe
out of
it's
sorts.
that, though. Maybe it's the off since Wednesday.
I don't know. Yeah, right. I mean, you've been playing like engaged almost every single day baseball, and then you have this great emotional win on Wednesday, and you don't play again until Sunday. I don't know. They were completely out of it. I don't know. I'm just guessing, Michael. I'm kind of with you. Why not just start Peterson? But I guess because it was a formula that worked in Game 1 against Philadelphia, and I'm sure they didn't expect him to be this awful. During the game, Mendoza said it. He didn't have it. No, he didn't make any excuses. Just did not have it. And Peterson didn't look like he really had it either. So it probably wouldn't have mattered anyway. It just puts a lot of stress on today.
And Manaea doesn't have great numbers lifetime against the Dodgers. He just doesn't.
I don't know how much that even really matters.
Well, he's a different pitcher. I agree with you. He's a different pitcher than when those numbers happen.
You know, we can't get too crazy. He's been their best pitcher in this postseason. He's done everything asked to do. I don't know how a lot of Met fans were, but I think maybe, Peter, you'll understand my logic as a fan. Once that game was out of hand, I'm rooting for the Mets to get shut out.
Why?
Because I don't want to end. I don't want to have to end the Dodgers streak in a game that's already decided. I want to end the streak when it's scoreless today, where they take a lead. You know, because the Dodgers are going to give up runs. I mean, it's 33 innings. It's ridiculous. So at some point, they're going to give up runs. Isn't it better the Dodgers give up runs when it means something rather than the Mets get some meaningless runs in a 9-0 game? I wasn't thinking that at 3-0, 4-0, but then when it got 5, 6, 9, I'm like, all right, go quietly into that good night, save it for today.
It's a fair point. I mean, the only thing I'd push back against that is that with baseball, you do like to see some rhythm and just seeing people get the bat on the ball, so maybe that can make you feel a little better. But there was that feeling early, Michael, when it was 2-0 for a while, and they even alluded to it on the broadcast. You don't get worried at 2-0 anymore if you're a Mets fan. You're kind of used to getting down 2-0. There's no need to panic being down early.
I thought it was a great point by John Smoltz was, I thought, terrific. I know he gets beat up by people. I don't get. I think he's fabulous. The way he just broke down. Like in a regular season game, you can give up if you want, but in the postseason, anything can happen. And this team, especially when they put up the 6th spot in Toronto. Remember, Michael, when they were getting no hit? Like you're talking about the rhythm of getting something going. Who saw 6 runs when they were getting no hit in Toronto? And then the 6 runs they put up in Game 1 against the Braves. So the Mets have this all of a sudden out of nowhere put up a big inning. But I don't know. The base running error, they were just completely getting shut down. Couldn't get anything
going. Wouldn't you
going.
say, Don, that's the worst game they've played in about a month and a half?
Easily. I can't even remember the last time they played that poorly. They certainly haven't played that way. Probably the second game against the Phillies in the 4-game series at Citi Field when they lost 12 to 2. Mm-hmm. That's the last time that they were out of a game, that you were completely done with them. So, hey, you get it out of the way. There's no such thing as meaningless postseason baseball, but the math tells you in a best of 7, if there's a game to lose, it's Game 1. Right, so you can get off the mat. This isn't a best of 3, best of 5 where you can be in trouble. It's going to be back and forth. You want to get the split. Just puts the onus today, right, Michael, on today. Even if you go back to Citi Field down 2 games, you're not going to feel great, but you're not going to feel dead. If you go back to Citi Field with home field advantage in a 1-1 tie, you're going to feel great about the Mets situation.
Now, here's the Mets starting lineup for today. You have Lindor, Vientos, and Nimmo at the top. You've got Alonso, Marte, and Winker in the middle, and Iglesias, Taylor, and Alvarez, the bottom third, with Manaea starting. And for the Dodgers, it's Ohtani, Betts, and Hernandez, top of the order. Freeman, Smith, and Edman, middle of the order. Muncy, Hernandez, and Pages is the bottom of the order for the Dodgers. They'll be going with a bullpen game, starting with Ryan Brazier. Very quick aside, and if you want to paint me as the old man, feel free, everybody. But after the Dodgers win against the Padres in Game 5, so they're interviewing Kike Hernandez, who had one of the home runs. And he says, I think it was to Ken Rosenthal, are we live? And then Rosenthal said yes. And then Kike Hernandez goes, he dropped the F-bomb. He wanted to know if they were live on TV, and then he dropped the F-bomb. Major League Baseball has to issue him a huge, huge fine. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? I can see if you get caught up in the moment. That was something that he actually thought about. He wanted to know if they were live first, and then he dropped an F-bomb on TV. These guys don't get it. They're kids watching the game.
And for the kids out there, and I call them kids because that seems to be the ones that defend it all the time. Oh, you're an old man. Let him be. He's just emotional. Well, no, not here. Not here. He asked if he was live, so it wasn't. It was strategic. So why is that okay? Again, I don't want to spend all day on
No,
this,
I
Michael,
just
but why
wanted to
is that
say it
okay?
because it shouldn't be left unsaid, because I think sometimes Don and Peter we're giving up. We just throw up our hands and go, well, that's the way it is. Well, that's not the way it should be. These guys are adults, all right? And it wasn't a heat of the moment thing. He asked if he were on live. They said, yes, we are, and then he dropped an F-bomb. It's disgraceful. Again, I didn't think like this until I had kids, and I'm watching the game with my kid. But there are kids listening. And I don't want to be a Puritan. I understand that's a word that's used. Does it have to be used on live TV? I would hope that Major League Baseball really hit him with a fine. What a disgraceful thing to say.
No, listen, I don't care how old you are. That's just stupid. Like that's just being intentional. That's being willfully ignorant and stupid.
But Michael, it's not old, young. It's not get off my lawn. It's the right thing, because somebody that would argue, who cares? So then that means you would use it in front of children. You'd use it in church. Now, I'm not comparing baseball to church. The point is that there's places for that language and there's places where it's not right. And you wouldn't say it walking down the street in front of a bunch of kids. You would not do it. Unless you're a piece of garbage, you wouldn't do it. So how is it any different? Baseball's trying to get kids to watch their game. It's early enough where it's a weekend. It's a Friday, right? So there's a possibility there's going to be some kids that are going to be watching it. So why is it okay, especially in the West Coast where it was still very, very early? So how is that any different than dropping it in an elevator with a bunch of 10-year-olds? How is it any different?
Don? I think a lot of people would now. The world has changed.
But I'm sorry, then that's fine. Then that's somebody, and if you want to argue this point, fine, that doesn't care. There is no couth, there's no decorum. You play by your own rules. You do whatever you want. Okay, if that's the way you want to be, fine. But there are rules to society, Michael. There's appropriate behavior and inappropriate. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I don't use that word. I do, but I don't use it in front of my children. I don't try to not use it in public. And if something slips, it slips. But when it's done on purpose,
it's whack.
Yeah, there's good and there's bad, and that's bad.
I've got some scheduling for you.
All right, I love scheduling.
All right, so the Mets pregame show on this fine station, 880 ESPN, starts at 3:25.
That's right.
So you might say, well, what happens to the K show? Don't you worry. To listen to the rest of this fine show, you have to tune to 10:50 a.m. Or you could listen on the ESPN app or continue to watch us on Yes. Now, following us on 10:50 will be the Rangers and the Red Wings coverage with Don LaGreca on pre and post.
There you go.
Now, following Mets coverage on 880, how about this? We're going to join ESPN Radio's coverage of Yankees-Guardians Game 1, and Ty Butler will have a show recapping all of the action until 1 a.m. That's a full Zoftig show.
And Ty Butler's dialed in. The man is locked in on the playoffs right now. This is you don't have to turn off your Ray-Ro. Let's say you have to have a long work day. Like you're driving in right now. You didn't get off for Columbus Day or Indigenous Peoples Day or whatever you call today. You didn't get off. You got to work. The good news is you throw on the Ray-Ro, or as I recommend, the ESPN New York app, Michael, because it's all right there.
Hey, what are you doing?
And you're taken care of all day long. You got friends. You got family.
Yeah, we got a lot of show. We got Scott Van Pelt at 3:30. We got the great Joe Buck at 5. We're going to listen to Aaron Boone at 4. We'll break down the Yankees Game 1 against the Guardians throughout. We got to break down the Giants' tough loss yesterday.
We got to get you ready for the Jets.
Get you ready for the Jets and the Bills and what could be construed as close to a must game for the Jets with a new coach.
No, this
is our local football season. You can make the case.
No, this is. Let me put it this way: a bad loss. And God forbid, like Rodgers is horrible, or even really, God forbid, gets hurt in some way. You guys could picture the wheels coming completely off after tonight. This is a big show that you're sticking around moment for them.
If your owner, in his words, wanted a spark with the head coaching change, well, a dud on Monday Night Football is quite the opposite of a spark.
Getting smoked by your division rival.
They're
not going to get smoked.
Starts a fire.
I will lock it. They're not getting smoked.
Yeah, but what's a fire without a spark?
I don't know, Bruce.
That sounds...
This is guns for hire.
Hey,
you know what I mean?
It's game time, brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey. A busy sports day. Mets play Game 2 of the NLCS against the Dodgers in L.A. Coverage starting right here at 3:25 on 880. Then we'll switch over to 10:50 at that time, leading you right into Rangers Red Wings coverage starting at 6:30. Yankees open the ALCS against the Guardians at 7:38. That's 7:38 with ESPN radio coverage following our Mets coverage on 880. Monday Night Football. Jets-Bills at 8:15 on ABC and ESPN. And on the ice, the Devils are already underway against Utah, and the Isles visit the Avalanche at 9. That's Game Time, brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, because when it's game time, it's Tully time. Tullamore Dew, the original triple distilled, triple blended, triple cask matured Irish whiskey. Be sure to grab a Tullamore Dew or try the brand new Tullamore Dew Honey during tonight's action. Glass up to enjoying Tullamore Dew responsibly. One other Jet note. Hassan Reddick has a new agent, Drew Rosenhaus.
Who I'm sure you've heard
And
of.
Drew Rosenhaus said he wants to get a deal done with the Jets. Reddick wants to be here with the Jets long term. Well, we'll see. But
exactly
Rosenhaus will, in fact, be at the game tonight, so he could sit down with Joe Douglas and make it happen.
Yeah, because I think Reddick finally hired an agent to go, oh, what are you, stupid?
Well, I think the other
matter with
agency said, "What are you, stupid?" and fired him. CAA fired him.
I don't, but this is Drew Rosenhaus. He was in Jerry Maguire.
So that should get it done.
You think so?
Oh,
You think that's enough?
let's take some phone calls.
Listen,
Let's do a rare thing now, Peter. I think you're going to agree with me. We're going to start off the show as only we can
Hold
with
on.
Richard in Manhattan.
This is such a risk.
How do we not talk about this in the meeting?
Hi, Michael, Don, Peter, how's everything?
Great.
Good.
What's up?
All right, fellas. Does Senga come back at all this year, this series, at all?
I wouldn't think so, Richard. I think you could keep stretching him out with bullpen work, and maybe he could start in the World Series if they get that far. I don't know if I'd risk him again. Would you?
Rodon gets rocked in the second inning, 4 runs, 2 walks. Does he come back at all at this point in the series?
Instead of who?
Any point.
They're going to need 4 starters.
Anyone. Will he come in and pitch?
Yeah, I think he would.
Okay. All right, one thing. Now, you guys were talking about listening to the TV or the radio. The other night, this is why I love radio. John and Susan were talking about Senga pitching. He hasn't pitched all year, and he's pitching in a big game, playoff game. And they commented on something I had totally forgotten. In 1968, now that was the year of the pitcher, so everybody had low batting averages. Well, the Tigers while playing the Cardinals in the World Series, their shortstop, Ray Euler, was hitting 160. Now, even then, 160 was very, very low, even though it was the year of the pitcher. But anyway, what the Tigers did, they had 4 outfielders. They took one of their outfielders, Mickey Stanley, who never played short. Never. He played flawlessly in the World Series against the Cardinals. The Tigers beat the Cardinals in 7 games. He didn't make one
I
effort.
love radio, too, but what does radio have to do with this?
John Sterling gave the story.
You could have heard that story. Thank you, Richard, for the phone call. It was a bad move picking him first. I get it. I mean, he keeps saying how he loves radio. I get it. I love John. He's one of my closest friends. But is John the only one who brought up Mickey? I mean, it's a story that's been told a million times in baseball history. And he keeps tying it to how he loves radio. I understand.
But by the way, here's the thing about Richard. I love a compliment for a broadcaster. But when he also heaps so much positive praise on every, I guess that's a double whatever, but a double positive, if you will. But he heaps so much praise on every single commentator that he listens to on the radio. It's hard for me to even be affected by it anymore.
Really? He keeps bringing up radio. Like John and Susan, who I love, both of them. Like, they're the only people ever talked about Mickey Stanley taking over Ray Euler at short. I mean, it's baseball history.
I mean, listen, I love Bob Wischusen. If you listen to Richard, Bob's the only person who can call a football game in America.
We might have to have a Richard moratorium soon.
No,
we might. Don said we have to talk about it in the meetings.
I was just saying, you don't rip into a Punch and Judy hitter, and then when he doesn't hit a home run, bat and cleanup.
But sometimes he does drive the ball.
Michael, it's a bad job. It's a bad job.
Yeah, no,
you knew it in your bones when you did.
You do.
Well, because I thought he was, he asked the question about Senga and Rodon, and who knows that he'd go on a harangue about how great radio is.
Really?
We get it. We're on radio.
He is harangue. He's Richard Harangue.
I thought of something this weekend, guys.
What's that?
I want to get this person on the show. I want to know who the person is who invented the moron, ridiculous, idiotic, fake plastic chains with a team logo on it.
Oh, they make a lot of money, whoever invented it.
No, that's why I want to pick their brain, Michael, because that person made the dumbest item ever. And Mike, they're at every stadium. I'm seeing highlights right now. The Panthers, Bruins. Everyone's wearing the B. I saw all the Ravens fans wearing every stadium. People are shelling out $20 to wear a stupid fake plastic chain. Don, we could have been multimillionaires.
But we're just not that stupid.
We're not stupid enough to make that kind of money.
Let's go to Corinne in Manasquan.
See, that's a good choice.
See, she'll get you going.
Listen, I think Richard Manhattan, one of my favorite calls. You guys got to keep going to him. It doesn't necessarily have to be the first call of the day,
Right.
but if I don't hear Richard anymore, I'd be sad.
Yeah, I don't want to ban him. He's not leading off.
That's right.
So what I was calling to talk about is Kodai Senga. I thought it was interesting before the division series that we were starting him in the first game. I don't remember what our pitching situation was, who was on normal rest, but him going first was interesting to me. I thought it was even weirder yesterday that we started him, considering you have Minaya on normal rest, you have Severino. I mean, everyone's throwing out there, Kodai Senga's your ace. I'm sorry, he's pitched 7 innings for us this season. He's not our ace. Minaya's our ace. So I don't know why we're so bent on putting him into these spots when we don't even know what we have from him right now, coming off the injuries he's had. I mean, obviously, the old Kodai Senga's still in there. I just don't think that this is the platform he needs to be working out his troubles, when we're trying to compete for the World Series.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I've also given this the thought, Corinne, and we thank you for the phone call. Mendoza's really smart. And again, I'm throwing this out there, guys, with no proof. This has the stench of analytics to me. The stench. Where the front office, maybe we do this. Like when the Yankees started, Davey Garcia and brought in Jay Happ. Aaron Boone could take ownership of that all he wants. That was an organizational thing that they convinced Boone was the right thing to do, and it was the wrong thing to do. This has that stench to it. That David Stearns and all the analytic guys said this is the way to go. The guy, as Corinne just said, he's pitched 7 innings all year, and he's starting game 1 of the NLCS.
No, but I think it has a lot to do with how successful they were in game 1 against Philadelphia.
Not because of him, though, Don. He gave up a leadoff home run to Schwarber.
But then he shut it down from there, and then Peterson came in, and the Phillies didn't get anything until the game was already decided. Well, that final score was 6-2. Phillies put up a run in the bottom half of the 9th inning. So that formula resulted in 1 run over 8 innings. And so they were thinking, now maybe we'll get 3 or 4 out of Senga, and now we'll be able to bring in Peterson. Remember, the bridge to Diaz, and Diaz himself has not been a panacea in this postseason. Let's be honest. No. So I'm not defending it. I'm just trying to get inside their brain on why they thought about it. Hey, maybe we get lucky and do what we did in game 1 against Philadelphia. It was on the road against a really good offensive team, and that was in a best-of-5 series. We had a little bit more wiggle room in a best-of-7. I bet you the success of game 1 against Philly had a lot to do with why they went in that direction.
All right, we're going to come back with Scott Van Pelt, but first, Peter has to tell us about BetterHelp. All right, Yankees and the Guardians start their ALCS tonight. Here's the Yankees starting lineup. Gleyber Torres at second leads off. Juan Soto in right. Aaron Judge in center. Austin Wells will catch and clean up. The DH is Giancarlo Stanton batting 5th. Batting 6th, the third baseman, Jazz Chisholm Jr. Anthony Volpe, the shortstop, will bat 7th. Batting 8th, back on the roster, back in the lineup. First baseman Anthony Rizzo. And Alex Verdugo in left field is going to bat 9th with Carlos Rodon on the mound against the veteran Alex Cobb for the Guardians. So Rizzo on the roster, Rice off the roster, Duke Ellis, the pinch runner extraordinaire, off the roster, and Marcus Stroman is on the roster. He'll be pitching out of the bullpen. Rodon starts game 1. Garrett Cole starts game 2. Schmidt starts game 3. Louis Seal starts game 4. And we start this segment with the great, the handsome, amazingly talented Scott Van Pelt, who will be hosting Monday Night Countdown starting at 6 p.m. tonight on ESPN. Scott, how's life going?
Well, I mean, I'm thrilled right now. It's kind of a high water mark because I just got those compliments from you, Michael. I'm glowing right
Just
now.
the way you wrote them. This is a really, really, in our opinion, I want to get your take, a really significant big game for the Jets. Do you agree?
Entirely. I was thinking about this flying up here. There are a number of words that I think can get overused, not just in our business, but certainly in our business. You say it's a fascinating game. That the word applies because you come into this not only with the AFC East lead on the field, quite literally, you win this game and you're good. But obviously, with what happened with the owner deciding to make a change, and really that pushes all the chips in the middle and puts the onus on the players to kind of make me right, like it was this guy's fault. And as if the game weren't already interesting enough and significant enough. There's all of that. So I mean, look, we've got several hours to talk about it, and we're going to clear a lot of space to talk just about this game because it's enormous for both sides, but obviously for folks in your part of the world, way more interested from the Jets angle.
Well, the last time that a coach was fired, not forced to resign, fired, and that team made the playoffs was 1961. It doesn't happen. You don't create sparks in the NFL. You do that in the other sports, not in the NFL. But the owner said, I wanted a spark. So you can't lose tonight because if you're looking for a spark, that means you've got to win the very next game you play.
Yeah, and the spark there's not a definition, Don, right, of whether it lights the way you want it to or if the whole thing blows up in your face. And so, I mean, I think I had this right. I mean, even Kotite and guys that had miserable years didn't get fired mid-season. It's just very, very unusual. It doesn't happen a lot, but it happened here, and it happens in advance of a game against the team that I think is the presumptive favorite. They've not looked great the last 2 weeks, but you got to win. And they're not. It's like a coin flip in my mind of what happens. But yeah, this is it magnifies an already enormous game. The stakes are as high as they could be for October the 14th.
Does your gut tell you that we see, because I can't help but think about Rodgers here, right? He has to realize the stakes, and that if this goes really bad. If this is a complete disaster, he knows where the media is going. He knows where the thought is going to go. This whole experiment could come crashing down. Does your gut tell you he steps up in this moment and still has that in him to be able to pull out an old Rodgers performance?
I mean, I don't know if it's old Rodgers, but the answer to the question you're asking, Peter, is yes. He knows the deal. I think whatever people think of him, this is, and I've always liked him, just full disclosure. I think this is an innately bright guy. I think he's a smart guy. I think he understands a lot about kind of what's going on around him, certainly the perception of what happened here. And he went on with Pat McAfee and said he resents the idea that he had involvement here. Whatever happened, and whatever role his thoughts about the coach had or didn't have in this, he knows that the temperature in the room only rises significantly if he goes out and plays poorly. And by his own admission, and we all saw it, he wasn't good in the last game and needs to be better. I don't think we're going to see vintage MVP Rodgers tonight, but what you need is good enough to beat the Bills tonight and just kind of let everybody take a deep breath and say, all right, where do we go from here? So I would think that you'll see the best of what he is in 2024 tonight. Yeah, that feels reasonable to me.
We're in the middle of the Scott Van Pelt Report, brought to you by Bigelow Tea and Bay Ridge Honda. Let's look at the other team. They started off great. You think, wow, they're really rolling. They've hit a little bit of a skid. What are you seeing with them?
I tell you, Michael, it was 2 weeks ago on a Monday night against Jacksonville, and context is always important. I mean, Jacksonville's a mess at the moment, but Allen had 4 touchdown passes in the first half, and they couldn't have looked better. And in his most recent game, he couldn't have looked worse. I mean, from a completion percentage standpoint, the fewest completions, worst completion percentage for a quarterback that had more than 30 throws in a game and just couldn't get anything going. And it's back-to-back losses where he hasn't looked particularly good. And this Jets defense through the years has typically done a pretty good job against him. And so, as if the Jets angles and storylines weren't interesting enough, from our show's perspective, Allen and Buffalo are plenty interesting too, because I wouldn't put this on the stakes nearly as high for him in Buffalo as they are for Rodgers in terms of, what's the conversation going to be if you lose. But, you lose 3 in a row, and now the Jets have caught you, and it's clearly not where they want to be. So I feel like, I don't know, get a little overdone with the pressure on a guy or this or that. I mean, there's pressure on Josh Allen to be certainly better than he was last week, because that's as bad as we've ever seen him.
And then if the Jets win, and they would have the tiebreaker, obviously, with
correct
at 3-3. At 3-3, now you're thinking, Scott, that the division winner is going to come out of the AFCs to make the playoffs. With those kind of records.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I'm looking, and I'm going to be stubborn here and die on this hill. A year ago, I was convinced Buffalo was good. I didn't care what the record was. And I said last night on SportsCenter, I may look really foolish. Wouldn't be the first time. But I'm convinced Cincinnati's good. And that Giant game, I don't know if we're going to get to it, but yikes, that home team is not great. But I'm convinced Cincinnati's going to make it, because I look at the back end of the AFC, and I don't think it's very good. Teams from the AFC East to get there, but you make the correct point as it relates to the teams that come out of this on the losing end. You're thinking we're not going to have a ton of wiggle room, perhaps, and neither has started the way they would want it if they're on the wrong end of 3-3 if it's Buffalo.
Now you mentioned the Giant game, and you said they're not very good. If I heard you right, and I'm going to push back just a little bit.
That's what I said.
They shut down a pretty potent offense, just shut him down completely. Now, if you want to say that Daniel Jones isn't that good, but I think they're playing better than people thought they were going to play.
I raved about their performance last week at Seattle when I was on with you guys. I thought they were fantastic. Michael, they've scored 1 touchdown at home in 3 games. 1. You're paying big money around here to come watch the Giants. They've scored a touchdown in 3 games. You're going up against a defense that couldn't stop anyone in Cincinnati, and you made Lou Amarolla's group look awesome in being limited to just 7 points. So I don't want to overstate. I don't think the Giants. There's some real bad football teams. I don't think the Giants are awful. I think to score 1 touchdown in 3 games, I just would suggest isn't ideal.
It is interesting though. If they had a decent kicking game, though, they could have 2 more wins.
You're right. Perhaps, yeah. I mean, if they had a kicker against Washington, we all know at the end of that game, right, they couldn't try to kick because Gano had injured himself, and Neighbors dropped that one after he had an incredible game. And you're right. I mean, if Joseph makes either kick, well, actually the first kick, you got a tie game, and who the hell knows? But you're right. It's more fair to say that the defense gave him a chance, but you cannot be limited to 7 against a defense that couldn't stop anyone prior to yesterday.
So Jones is now 1-14 in primetime games. He has not thrown a touchdown pass in 7 straight night games. That is a troubling statistic for the Giants. I last night you just kept waiting. It seemed like Cincinnati was going, here, take it. You could have this game.
Now,
and
listen,
they just couldn't do it.
You're playing without Neighbors and Singletary. Although, looking at the game, I don't think they really need Singletary. It seems like Tracy's getting the job done. The offensive line is blocking. So the question now becomes, because clearly, I guess, the quarterback, if you're not winning games, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to make a change. Can they be in a position where you could still feel good about the coach and the direction of the organization, but yet have a record that'll allow you to pick high enough to draft a quarterback?
That's a lot to ask. I mean, it's a lot. It is. That's the problem. You got to thread the needle, and everything has to go exactly right. And I don't know. It's just amazing how. I mean, we could talk a week from now, and the world can look different. It changes so much from week to week in the National Football League. But I mean, this organization is just sort of stuck in this place as it relates to Jones. They didn't want to extend him, and then they make the playoffs and they win a game, and then they do, and then now it's like, well, they could get out. I don't know, man. Just look around the league. The teams that don't have good quarterback play have no chance. Like if I'm a Cleveland fan, I don't know how you do it. I have no idea how you do it. And watch Deshaun Watson play quarterback. It's abominable how he's playing. And so there's worse. Like there's lower floors to push on this elevator if you're a Giant fan. But I mean, you're just kind of stuck here in a place with Jones where you're not advancing. So I don't know how you're going to feel good about where things are. It would seem if it goes south, and the organization would just punt and go different directions across the board.
Now I know, listen, SVP, we have a tradition now. I do ask you every week. I was there yesterday for the Commanders-Ravens game. I'm done adding the caveats of waiting for the other shoe to drop. Football's football. You never know what's going to happen. God willing, the kid will be healthy. But I am telling you right now, I have seen enough from Jaden Daniels to tell you, in my 45 years, he's the best Washington quarterback I've ever rooted for. Is that crazy to say?
Well, I'm older than you, so I'm lucky enough to have seen him when they were, in the heyday and they were winning Super Bowls. But listen, he's the best they've had in quite a while. And it's, on the one hand, Michael asked last week, do we need to hose Peter off every Monday? I don't think you're being irrational with the level of excitement. And you could say it's loser talk to walk away from a loss and feel optimistic. But I think if you go toe-to-toe with as good a team as the league's got in Baltimore, and you lose, but you see things in that where you didn't look outclassed. You weren't in the deep end and you couldn't swim. I certainly think what you're saying makes sense, Peter. Look, I think Vegas made them the odds-on favorite in the NFC East. My guy Stanford Steve told me this morning, and it doesn't feel unreasonable. The Giants are struggling. Philly looks a bit of a mess, even though they won, and Dallas gives up 100 points every time they play at home. So, there's reason for optimism.
I'll tell you this, though, Scott. He is the best quarterback in both of our lifetimes. I mean, he will prove out to be better than Mark Rippon or Doug Williams. He'll prove out to be better than Theismann.
Should we get the hose out? I mean, I'm starting to get the feeling.
I've seen enough.
His hose is
Michael, I was just, you couldn't see me. We're going to have to hose the man off. Look, Rippon, I get it. That 99 then Redskin team was absolutely a wagon, and Rippon was insane. But it's such a different game now. You need someone that has the abilities that Daniels possesses. And so, maybe you're right, Peter. You're long on Daniels, and you might end up being rich as a result.
All right, now you mentioned the Browns, and they're so bad. And I come to you for clarity and to put things into perspective. So the Eagles just sneak by them. And Sirianni has the absolute gall to talk trash to the... What is Nick Sirianni thinking, Scott?
I don't know, man. That's apparently, and I didn't see it this morning, but apparently my guy Damian Woody just went in and was calling him a clown, and I just don't see the upside. And look, I live south of Philly, you guys are north of Philly, but I mean, listen, I've made this clear. I love the Philadelphia fan. I love the energy, the passion. It's teetering on anger. Certainly, they might MF you as you're winning, and maybe that's what they were doing yesterday. There's zero upside to turn around and chirp after you win a game against a team that cannot do it on offense. Like, what is it you want, a parade? I mean, I just can't fathom what the thinking is there. You're asking what he's thinking. I haven't the slightest idea. I just know that is a really, really rocky road to go down in Philadelphia, because you're going to end up running into something, man.
Yeah.
Sooner than later, if that's the direction he wants to go.
Monday Night Countdown starts at 6. Scott's got a lot of work to do, but he takes time out of every Monday to talk with us. Scott, have a great show. We'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it. Pulling into the parking lot right now. We'll see you all at 6. Thanks for the time, gents.
That's the Scott Van Pelt Report, brought to you by Bigelow Tea, who encourages you to grab a mug and tea proudly. And Bay Ridge Honda. At Bay Ridge Honda, you can get great prices and payments on hundreds of new Hondas. You pay what their employees pay. No, let's try that again. You pay what their employees pay during the Bay Ridge Honda Employee Pricing Sales Event. Get all the facts at BayRidgeHonda.com. Don, I want you to know, we've been together a long time.
Yeah.
I heard exactly what you said. Didn't get much response, but I heard what you said.
I heard it too.
Peter laughed out loud.
I laughed out loud.
But it's best not to accentuate what you said, but I did hear it.
But I think, well, listen, I don't think it hits different if I repeat it.
No, I don't think you should.
You can't.
But I think in the moment, I'm proud of it.
It did what it had to do.
Peter, really, better than Joe Theismann already.
No, he's going to be better than Joe Theismann.
But
of course,
you said now.
Well, he has more talent than any quarterback they've had. I don't know since when. I mean, I didn't watch Sonny Jurgensen play.
Taylor Heineke? Is that what you're saying? Because you had Heineke on the fast route to Canton too.
He is and you know what? We were talking off the air. He's not fully committed to being better than Patrick Ramsey, but he's in the conversation.
What about Sam Howell, who Michael will tell you that I thought he was going to the Hall of Fame when all I said was I thought he had a chance at being pretty good.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, he really is. There's something special with that kid, man.
Now through the end of October, experience unrivaled luxury and performance with special leasing. Taking a look at the Jets and the Bills tonight, I do disagree with Scott about the Giants, because I think the Giants play everybody tough.
Well, hold on.
I'm sorry, they play everybody tough.
They do. No, but their offense is horrifying.
I understand it, but was it horrifying against Seattle? No. He's not a consistent player. You know I don't like him as a quarterback, but he's not bad all the time. He's bad all the time on national TV. But
well, how would you describe what is it that truly doomed them yesterday? I know you'd say the kicker. Obviously, the kicker is getting a lot
and his
of it.
pick six, his pickoff was ridiculous.
Right.
And, he's not a great quarterback.
No, he is what he is. He's a nice
But they're going to be in every game, Don.
Hey,
they really are.
But here's the thing. Here's what we're starting to see. How much different is this Giants team to the team that won 9 games 2 years ago?
Not much.
Because the team that won 9 games 2 years ago, they beat Washington because the kicker's healthy. Maybe they figure out a way to beat Dallas. Maybe they figure out a way to win the game. Like, all right, perfect example. If this were 2022, the way everything bounced for them, they recover that fumble at the end of the game.
Right.
And they find a way to get in field goal range, maybe win the game in overtime or something, or they end up tied, and, ooh, look, they got points. They caught a bunch of breaks in 2022, played well enough to get the 9 wins. And listen, I'm not throwing it back. It was a playoff team, beat Minnesota. But you're going to watch this team, and they're just not good enough to win. I think they're good enough to hang. They just haven't figured out how to win. I like the coach. I like his aggressiveness. 3 times going for it on 4th down. They're in the games that they play. The defense, I think, minus Thibodeau and not a great secondary, were able to shut down one of the better offenses in football. But they're limited offensively, Peter, and they're limited because there's only so much you're going to get from Daniel Jones.
And that pick, Don,
it's awful.
Is a pick that if Daniels did it, I'd be like, all right, kid, time to grow up. Like you got to take
making the
that
same mistakes
sack.
in year 6 as he did as a rookie, Peter. It's ridiculous.
That kills you.
It didn't cost them. But it cost them
it cost them points.
It might have cost them points, but it wasn't like Cincinnati scored. Listen, the defense played terrific. Their special teams is a mess because of the kicking situation. Now you're down a punt or two. Again, I'm not making excuses. I'm starting to believe in the coach again. I think he's coming up with some nice plays. Just limited. And everybody knew it going in that it was going to take a miracle for Jones to stay. But the question is, can they play the rest of the season as well as they played last night and still lose enough games to be in a position to draft a quarterback?
I don't think they're going 2-15.
I don't think so either. Because listen, I don't know how many quarterbacks are going to come out. Maybe it's going to be a deep enough quarterback that maybe they can draft 5th or 6th and get somebody that might be able to change the narrative. But I don't think they're going to be picking 1st overall. Not as long as Carolina's this bad. Jacksonville, Michael. I'm looking at Jacksonville with these games in London and a coach that might lose his job here. Peterson. I don't know. Jacksonville may end up having a tough pick, but I know they're not drafted a quarterback if they have it. But there's going to be a lot of bad teams, certainly,
by the way,
in
Don,
the NFL this year.
I mean, we don't want to talk about it, but we have to. What a distinguished couple of picks by Peter. Jacksonville and Dallas.
I don't think we have time to get into
aged well.
I got to tell you.
Clown show.
We don't have time to get into the picks today. No, it's just too busy a show.
You're right.
It's too busy a show.
No, when you're right, you're right. But it had to be mentioned.
No, there's just not enough time today. How would you ever talk about literally 2 of the worst picks in the history of the sport?
What we've done, Michael, is that that his professor, his guru, his go-to guy is not Ballard. Because Ballard was
Ballard 7-0.
So
Ballard was perfect again.
He was
hilarious.
Listen,
by the way, whenever I talked to Ballard prior to now, whenever he would talk to me about, he was horrible. Everything he'd say he liked was
owns
garbage.
The NFL. Now, taking a closer look at the Giants, you can make an argument, again, the what-if game. They should have won the Cowboy game, should have won the Commander game, and had a legitimate shot to win yesterday. That's 3 more wins. Now, bad teams lose close games. I understand that.
Right.
But they are not losing these games because it's a bad team. They're losing these games because they can't score. They don't have a great quarterback. But I think they have the coach. The defense is good. Ojulari came in, even with Thibodeau down for 4 to 6 weeks. He played great after losing his job to Burns. There's parts of their team that's really good. That's why I push back so hard on all the geniuses, even at our network, that said the Giants were the worst team in football. Far from it. Far from the worst team in football.
And I said that the reason that anybody would say that, besides the talent, is you don't think anything of the coach. coach is too good for them to be that bad, in my opinion. He comes up with schemes, finds a way, but unfortunately they can't get out of their own way. They get out of the shadow of their own goal line with a 56-yard play that gets taken back because of an illegal man downfield. And there are plays to be had. That's the thing about Jones. He's a nice quarterback. He can win you some games, but Michael, again, overthrowing wide open receivers. If he had any kind of a touch, the plays are there. I think there's potential to score points. They don't score points, Michael, because they don't have a quarterback that can score points. Now, I think he's got guts. I love his legs. I mean, he's coming off a knee injury, and he's still diving for first downs and working hard to get first downs. He's a great kid, and he's a tough guy, and he's got a lot of attributes that I want out of my quarterback. Just not talented enough to win enough games. Just not. I mean, he's a nice kid, nice quarterback, but this is a big play league, and you got to have some touch. Peter, there's no touch to his throws.
No, not. I can't say he never throws a good ball, but like when it comes to precision passing, yeah, he's not that
Hey,
guy.
Disturbed is coming to Madison Square Garden on March 21st for the Sickness.
Interesting segue.
That's the 25th anniversary tour with special guests 3 days, Grace and 7 Dust. ESPN New York has your chance to score tickets on the ESPN New York app. Just scroll down to contest and submit your entry. It's brought to you by Live Nation. Tickets go on sale this Friday at Ticketmaster.com. Now, we haven't talked Yankees yet. They begin their ALCS. They're 4 wins away from going to the World Series. We'll hear from the Yankee manager, Aaron Boone. That's coming up in just a moment, so we want you to stay tuned for that. But first, Don wants to tell you about BetMGM. It's a big football Monday on 880 ESPN, brought to you by Infinity. Experience the Infinity lineup at your tri-state retailer today. But it's not just football. The Mets a couple of minutes away from starting Game 2. Not a must-win, but a game that they'd like to have before coming back to resume the series. Game 3 Wednesday at Citi Field. So Fox says it's about 8 minutes away. We'll be following it throughout. The Yankees tonight start their series against the Guardians. And I continue to say this, guys, and if you want to push back, you can. The road is there. The Yankees have always owned the American League Central. This year they own the American League Central. And I think the key to playing this series is to just beat up on the Guardians starters. Guardians really play a 5-inning game. Their bullpen is so good, Don. So you got to do your damage today against Cobb in the first 3-4 innings, and then let your bullpen get unleashed and protect things as well. So I love the Yankee chances against the Guardians.
Yeah, you have to. They've owned this division going back, I guess the last time they lost to the Guardians/Indians would have been the Midges. What was that, 2007? So that's going back a long time ago. Remember with Jabba Chamberlain and all that. But no, I've never believed in the Central Division. I know I got a lot of pushback from people because of the fact that 3 teams advanced out of the Central. But I don't think that they had one of the worst teams in the history of baseball in their division. None of those teams, the Twins collapsed at the end to allow the Royals to get in. The Guardians were the most consistent team all year. But are they going to be good enough to beat a Yankees team that's rested, healthy, and ready to go? I mean, I just think that they're ready. They did not play well against the Royals, yet still never faced elimination. They've got the better starting pitching, as you said, which I think should stabilize or at least equalize what they can do, the Guardians, out of the bullpen. But they've got some nice offensive pieces for sure, but not what the Yankees can do if they're playing at their best. Now, they're not playing at their best, so we'll see in a short series what can end up happening. But you got to love the Yankees' chances to advance to the World Series. Just have to.
It's right there. It's right in front of you, as Aaron Boone is prone to say. And if they don't win, it's on them. It's on them. You look at the Guardians. They've got Ramirez, who is a Hall of Fame player. Stephen Kwan had an unbelievable series against Detroit.
He did.
But they don't have that much offense up and down the lineup. So, I mean, this is a team that's built for the Yankees to win. We'll see.
Michael, they almost lost to the Tigers because they couldn't score. They finally did to save their season. But when they fell behind 2-1 to the Tigers, it's because they couldn't score at all. And this is a much better pitching team than the Detroit Tigers. So, hey, anything can happen in a best-of-7 series, but you got to like the Yankees winning this interview.
All right, Yankee Stadium right now. We'll hear from Yankee manager Aaron Boone.
Aaron, how much deliberation was there putting Anthony Rizzo on the roster, and ultimately what was the deciding factor for you that told you he was good to go?
A lot of deliberate. I kind of deliberated on it till, last night. I think just going back, he got hit on that Saturday and really didn't want to go on the IL based on the injury, and we knew it was a long shot going to the division series, but didn't put him on with the caveat, like, you got to be super honest about where you're at with me on this the whole time. And I actually saw him take some swings in the cage before the division series, and I was like, oh, it's pretty good, but we knew it wasn't quite where he needed to be. He's obviously gotten a lot of treatment now over the next 10 days from there, and pretty adamant yesterday that he's ready to go. Trainers feel like he's in a good spot. I feel like just watching him out in the field defensively looks very, very Anthony-ish. Made the call and excited to get him in there.
About 5 rows back on your left, Jay.
Yeah, Aaron, your bullpen was phenomenal during the division series against the Royals and really came together down the stretch after you moved Luke Weaver into the closer role. What I'd like to know is how did Clay Holmes handle it for you, and what have you seen from him since then, both in terms of managing the change and adjusting to the issues that put him out of that role?
Yeah, I mean, I think he handled it well. Like, I don't think he was happy about it or anything like that. But also is the ultimate pro too. And as we've talked about throughout this year, as questions have come up, like, he handles the highs and lows that can go with that job really, really well. He's just such a rock solid person, and at the end of the day, a really, really good pitcher. And even through some of the bumps in the road, like, we're still seeing all that. I don't think thrilled about, the change in role necessarily, but didn't flinch on, like, we got a job to do, and he's thrived. I mean, he's continued to, I thought pitched well for us down the stretch, and obviously was lights out in the first round. So he's a pro and a really good pitcher, and I think that's how he handles it.
We'll go up front to your left with Pete.
What were the qualities that Weaver showed you that led you to making him the closer?
Another really good person. I mean, like, just kind of way he leads his life. He's just real responsible, diligent, great worker, easygoing personality, great teammate. But then look at his body of work all year, and it's been outstanding. Really since the end of spring training, his last couple outings in spring training, he really started to look the part and went into I remember going into Houston, that opening series, and he is kind of our long man, maybe a 6 starter at some point. We're not really sure of the role, and really from jump, it's been excellent. We've seen the outstanding 4-seam fastball, cutter, changeup, and then with that, real command. So he's got command, the uptick and stuff that we've seen in him as a reliever, but also I think with some of the tweaks he made to his delivery over the winter that didn't show up, frankly, right away in spring training, has really taken him to another level. But I think it's the stuff of the 3 pitches that he uses the most with command of those.
Go to the 5th row, left center aisle.
Aaron, what is the biggest difference between Austin Wells now and at the beginning of the season?
I mean, look, the first full year in the big leagues, like, invaluable experience that he's gained now, kind of help leading a staff, a division-winning staff. Like, you can't put a price or whatever on that experience that he's gained. That said, he showed us a real presence even when he got called up last year into spring training this year, a real kind of not a rookie presence that you kind of got to have as a catcher, especially catcher for the Yankees. Like, he's had a real presence to him. Got off to a little bit of a slow start offensively, although, you dig a little bit, and he was hitting the ball pretty well. And then, really, I don't know, June or July, really started to take off offensively, moved into the middle of the lineup, and has just been a staple for us. And even as he, struggled a little bit offensively down the stretch, you still see that high level at bat in situations. But the catching has been excellent.
Against the wall on your right, Aaron, Max.
Aaron, why did you guys pick Marcus Stroman as your extra pitcher for this round, and how do you plan to use him?
We'll see. I mean, obviously he can give us length. But as I've said to a lot of people even today, it's playoffs. You may expect to see a guy that's, can give you length in a certain game, but you never know. He may find himself in the biggest spot in the biggest moment of the series. So, he's a big reason why we're here. The consistency of our starting rotation this year is a big reason why we're division winners. He was a big part of that. He stayed ready. I felt like his live, last week when he threw was good. And I just felt like he deserved to be on there.
Second row on your left, Aaron, Peter.
Hi, Aaron. How much consideration was given to Nestor Cortez, and just where is he in his progress?
I would say a little bit, but not quite there yet. Really excited about how his throwing program's gone since he started. And he threw his first pen yesterday, which went well. I think he felt good today. He'll have another one moderate throwing tomorrow, and then probably another bullpen on Wednesday. If that goes well, could have a live on the weekend. So he's just, if everything continues to go well, he's just still a few days behind being ready for this series probably. But we're definitely encouraged by how it's going so far.
We'll go to John, the next row back.
With Anthony, in terms of rostering him, was it a sense that he kind of had to be ready to start game one for him to be on the roster, or could you have put him on even if it wasn't necessarily?
Yeah, I got asked. I don't know if I looked at it like that. It was more like, do I think he's ready? Are you ready? So I don't know how to answer that really.
It's like so much of playoff baseball is about bullpens, and especially you guys are going to see a lot of relievers from Cleveland. How important is it for you to get length from your starters? How much value do you get from length from your starters?
Yeah, I mean, look, any time in these games, especially now with less off days than we just experienced, anytime you can get a starter deeper into the game, it's valuable. But you do whatever you got to do to win the day. And different teams, depending on the day, have to do that in different ways, and we'll be prepared to do whatever we need to do.
Across the aisle on your right, Aaron.
Aaron, I realize it's blasphemy to compare anybody to Mariano Rivera, but Clase says that Mariano Rivera was his role model or whatever in developing his cutter. Mm-hmm. Do you see any similarities there, and just generally what makes him so tough?
I mean, I guess the cutter makes some similarities there. I mean, he's obviously done it now for a few years at a really high level. So there's that consistent track record. He throws strikes with really high-end stuff. I mean, when you're throwing 100-mile-an-hour cutters up there and you also have command to go with it, that's going to be a challenge. So, and he showed, some real durability, the ability to take the ball over and over again, add that all up, and it's one of the best closers we've seen over the last several years.
Anything else for Aaron? We'll go to Ben on your right, the next row back.
You obviously know the Guardians from the regular season, but as a manager ahead of a playoff series, what's your process for kind of preparing for them here in mid-October as opposed to mid-August or earlier in the season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're paying attention to the other series when you can, so you're watching a little bit. We go through, we have scouts on them, and then we do a whole, scouting kind of unload or dump with our coaching staff and our staff, and everyone has their areas where they prepare, for specific things. So that all kind of has taken place over the last couple of days. Once we know our opponent, then it's like we zero in on, everything from how we're going to pitch guys, how we're positioning, what we expect to see, out of their pen. I guess you're just spending days just kind of preparing as a group, and then specifically the different coaches in their specific areas.
We'll finish up with Peter on your left.
Just with being back in the ALCS, is there anything about this Yankees team that stands out among the ones you've managed?
I don't know. I've talked about us being a little whole. 22. We kind of limped down the stretch, even though we played well down the stretch. After going through some struggles in like kind of that July, August, we finished pretty strong, but we lost some key people in that final month, and then played a really tough series with the Guardians and a rain out that pushed us right up to. So we were just kind of beat up and a little bit on fumes going into that 22 series. 19 was just a great series with, a great opponent that, we came up a little bit short. I feel like we're in a really good spot right now. We've got a couple injuries, but for the most part, we're pretty whole. And I feel like a lot of guys and a lot of key guys are, at their best or close to it right now.
Aaron, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Tanner Bybee of the Guardians.
Football team. Now, is it possible there could have been a Sunday where both the Mets and Yankees played, and then both Jets and Giants, and then the hockey team? I'm going to look that up. I'm going to make it my mission in life here to get an answer sooner than later.
This is your mission?
Yeah, why not? I love it. I like to give answers to questions.
We are in the middle of the Pinstripe Report, brought to you by Samwell Institute for Pain Management. For pain-free life, visit SamwellPain.com today. Kurt in Port Washington. Kurt.
Hey, Michael. Hey, guys. How are you?
What's going on?
I have a prediction, and everybody has predictions, but my prediction is this. Everybody talks about Soto, they talk about Judge, they talk about Stanton. My prediction is that Jazz Chisholm is going to become the Scott Brocious of these next two races. I think he's going to, pull it out. He's going to hit key hits, home runs, great defensive plays. That's my prediction.
What makes you predict that?
Well, I've been watching him since he joined the Yankees. The kid is he's stud. He's a great hitter. He's a great defensive player, believe it or not, in third base. I mean, he reminds me a little bit of Scott Brocious, and he comes up clutch.
Well,
so I don't know what you feel about it. But
I don't think he's a great defender. He's much better than somebody who's never played there before should be, but he throws a lot of balls in the dirt. He doesn't field everything cleanly. I think he's done a nice job. But to say he's a great fielder, I think you're wrong. He did not have a great series against Kansas City. So I think that he's got the potential to do great things. But you're throwing out great. I haven't seen great yet. He's got a tremendous amount of talent. But in terms of being a great player, I've seen a really good player. I've seen an energetic player. I've not seen a great player yet.
He's going out on a limb with his prediction.
Yeah, but he backed up with his prediction, I think, with a false narrative that he's a great defender. He's not a great defender. If you watch him every day, he's not a great defender. I mean, if you want to look at one area that the Guardians actually are better than the Yankees, it's defense. Their defense is outstanding, especially up the middle. The Yankees have a great defender at shortstop, but they have, Gleyber Torres, who's made more errors at second base than anybody. Now, the defense just got a lot better with Rizzo back, but there's a lot of holes out there. Soto's not a great defender in right field, and Judge is much better in right field than he is in center. I think Verdugo has an opportunity to be a great defender. He's shown some signs of that. But people throw the word great around a lot. Great should be held back. Aaron Judge had a great season. Francisco Lindor's had a great 4 months with the Mets and a great postseason. Those are great. Just throw great around. I don't know. It grates on me.
I think the last time the Yankees and the Mets both played on the same day in the postseason was 06, October 7th and 5th. They both played on the same day. But the one was a Saturday, the other one was a Thursday.
Now, a quick aside, moving away from the baseball a bit, I want to think what Peter has to say about this. Well, what's the deal with Dante DiVincenzo yesterday and Rick Brunson? I mean, DiVincenzo is like the best friend of Jalen Brunson.
Well, I'm glad you brought this up, Michael, but you know what's coming up in 12 minutes.
You want to save it for that?
It's CNN, baby, 4:30. We got to dive in.
It's a large portion of it. I saw it ahead of time.
Come on. You saw the list? Top story.
Yeah.
It's your top ENN story.
Then I'm glad it's going to be covered and dissected. And
of course, we got to talk that and Sirianni. A lot of weird things from over the weekend.
Let's go to Chris in the UPS truck.
Hey, what's up, gentlemen? How are you guys doing this afternoon?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I called because I wanted to talk really about
Is there
Daniel
a hamster
Jones.
with you? What does that sound?
No. I'm pull the truck over right now.
But your truck sounds bad, Chris. I mean, you got to get that checked out.
Yeah, no, it's good. Here we go. Everything should be good now. But so what I was saying was, I remember I called before and I told Don, this season, maybe in a way I said tank, and Don was like, you're stupid. No, the quarterback is no quarterback. Daniel's not him. I don't know the quarterback. I don't know about quarterbacks in the draft right now. It's not it. Daniel's not bad. He did great. But what I'm seeing is, let's be honest, Brian Daboll had to do fourth downs all game. And Jones is just missing, he's not even throwing to them. He's missing wide open people to just continue to get first down. It's almost like he's a choke artist. And so if we have to swap him out, put another quarterback in, and live with the result, hopefully we get a high pick, trade the high pick, like Bart said, trade the high picks and just, maybe move down the line and worry about Archie Manning or something, create some storyline. But I think Daboll is the coach. Daniel's not the quarterback. I don't think Joe Shane is the right guy for the job. And I think that's what I think. The Giants is pathetic.
Why isn't Joe Shane the guy for the job?
Because he's the one that got – I know you guys don't like the past, like let it be the past. I get that. But he's the one that let Barkley go. We got a Neighbors guy, which has turned out to be –
Neighbors has been great. What does Barkley have to do with this?
No, he has been great.
They've had enough of a running game. What?
Yeah, I don't know if Barkley would have made it.
He threw 18 passes to him in one game. I mean, come on, guys. That's a recipe for failure. You're going to kill the guy. It's like –
I don't like the narrative that it would have been that much better had Barkley stayed. I mean, they've been able to run the ball recently. I always feel like I'm bashing Barkley. Exactly where was all the greatness when Barkley was here? Do I think the offense would be a little bit better? Yeah, but he also led running backs in drops. He would get hurt. I mean, so, this idea that, and maybe Burns isn't here, Michael. How good has he been lately with his defense coming together? He played great last night. And the offensive line has been very good. They were able to add 2 offensive linemen. Now, if you think that there is a narrative, and some people have it out there, that they still could have kept Barkley and done all those things. Well, apparently they didn't think they'd be able to, or at least be able to secure Burns. So I'd like to see how this is going to look moving forward. But he drafted Neighbors. He's rebuilt this offensive line. I'm not ready to throw Shane away. It's still very fluid, but I'm not ready to make a change at general manager. And if you make the change at general manager, Michael, you're probably changing the head coach.
Absolutely. I was about to say that.
So
listen, I think that he's had enough time to make it his own, but he really inherited a bad situation. Gettleman completely fouled this up. Fouled it up, including the pick of Daniel Jones. It's year 6. We're still seeing him make rookie mistakes. This doesn't make sense.
They don't have the quarterback. So I guess we now have that old conversation. As a Giant fan, do you root for them to lose every game the rest of the way so that they can secure the top pick and draft the quarterback?
You can't view it that way. I'm sorry. The division's still too open to do that.
The division's open. Philadelphia looks like they're a mess. Dallas gets crushed at home every single game they play there. I mean, honestly, it was a 40.
I like Dallas.
It is absolutely ridiculous. And also, Michael, even though I think Dable's doing a good job, if they lose out, Michael, and go 2-15, are they going to keep him?
No, but they're not going to do that.
I don't think they're going to do it either, and I don't think you should root for that to happen. You can find quarterbacks. It's difficult, but if you're a good organization, Michael, whether you draft a free agency or trade up in the draft, something. Hey, all I know is, for all we know, Jacksonville may have the first overall pick in the draft, right? That's on the table. They haven't won a game this year.
And they'll trade.
They're not drafting a quarterback, so maybe you make a trade with Jacksonville and you get the first pick.
Aaron Boone, Yankee manager, has heard, you ready for this, Peter? This is going to excite you.
Okay.
That Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce will attend ALCS Game 1 at Yankee Stadium tonight.
Love it.
No, Peter, I know you want to be that guy. You don't care. Be honest. Look at me. Look at me. You don't care. That doesn't move your needle.
Excuse me?
Look at me. You're not looking at me.
I care about it more than if they were attending a game on the road, like some other game not here. That's slightly of interest to me.
Again, you're all for New York City. It's thriving for this. You've got.
Well,
the
no, I considered going. I was maybe going to go tonight. So
really?
Yeah.
How?
I'm not going.
You make me sick.
How would
honestly.
you go?
So
what
that's going to
connection
make
do you
go
have?
because they're there. What does it matter? I want to like you.
Me?
Yeah.
Wait, what's the problem?
So
I can't even.
I'm not going. I said no.
But this might get you to go because they're there.
No. Had I been there, I would have found that interesting.
Why? What, are you going to hang with them?
Run into him. You never know.
Oh my!
You know what? He might have gotten them on the Cheap Heat podcast.
I'm really bad at schmoozing. Bad at it.
I've seen it. Yeah.
If I saw Travis Kelce, I'd say.
But I don't want to be. I don't want to be as good as Peter.
No, I don't really care. No,
don't like, back off because of him.
Well, the only thing that makes me say is, wow, they're in New York a lot. Like, does he still play in the NFL? Every day I see a picture. By the way, are they off every week?
Well, he had a Thursday night game.
I know, but it feels like the whole season it's been that way.
If they're not on prime time, the Jets are.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. Because every time I look at the New York Post, I feel like it's him and her at a restaurant in New York, and I'm just like, he like lives here. It's kind of wild.
The big restaurant is the corner store. I think we have to get into that.
But did you, Don? You're bearing the lead. Do you hear the shock and awe that Michael had that I might be able to attend a Yankee game?
Yeah, it bothers me because I can't
without
attend
him. Now, is that him thinking you're not worthy of attending a Yankee game?
Probably.
Or that you found a way
it's both,
other than him
Don, it's
to
both.
get there?
It's both.
But that's so sad that you want Don and I to be, or at least me, to be such a loser that after 17 years on the air in this market, I couldn't find my way into Yankee Stadium.
I am just saying.
That's
well, there's
Don,
a third part
sad?
to this, too.
Go ahead.
You have no interest in the Yankees. You don't deserve to be there when there are people that would love to be there that can't get there. So stay away.
Hold on. I would be, Don, let me tell you this. I would be more dialed in and actively paying attention than what? Probably 15% of the crowd there at least, because some of them are just rich people sitting in seats waiting to eat
rich people can't be dialed in?
Some of them are not.
You have some nerve.
I'll be a respectful supporter. I'd clap. I'd be there to support. I'm not going to be wearing a Yankee outfit.
Do not go to the Bronx for the rest of the month.
Well, it's happening. I'm going to go to some point.
Is it that crazy to think that he would be more invested than 15% of the crowd?
No, I didn't go that high in number.
I think that's
probably higher.
I'm saying there are people that would kill a small woodland creature to get into the game tonight. Can't get in. He doesn't deserve to be there.
So, but that's not how the world works. I can't now take the fact that I could get in and go find a stranger and give them my ticket. It's not how it works.
Don, why don't you tell us about if you're going to keep this going, you're not going to have ENN. That's what's happening.
That's what's happening.
So do you want to end this conversation now or you want to keep going? Because I got a lot of stuff to say.
I don't want you to scold me like a child. I'm uncomfortable with that.
There's a lot of
I'm uncomfortable with all of
conversation.
This. Yeah, what was that?
Why don't you tell us about BetMGM, Don?
BetMGM.
Chris Sheeran back here for the Michael K. Show. This look at the starting pitchers for Game 1. ALCS between the Yankees and Guardians is brought to you by Montefiore Einstein, the official hospital of the New York Yankees. Alex Cobb goes for Cleveland. The right-hander is very familiar with the Yankees from his time with the Tampa Bay Rays. However, the last time he pitched at Yankee Stadium, he was in the San Francisco Giants uniform at the beginning of the 2023 season. He was traded from the Giants to the Guardians at this year's deadline. This will be his second start in the postseason and just his fourth start overall this season because of injuries. His opponent is lefty Carlos Rodon. He has not faced the Guardians as a member of the Yankees yet. That'll all change tonight. But in his career, he has faced them 21 times, starting 19 of those games. He's 8-5 with a 2.81 ERA. Our coverage here on Yes begins immediately following the Michael K. Show with an hour-long pregame show before Game 1 begins over on TBS. Then after the final out, make sure you tune it back to Yes for complete post-game coverage of Game 1. And our panel will get you ready for Game 2 in the Bronx tomorrow.
I'd like to start off by saying a big shout out to our sponsor, Security Dodge. Go see Michelle Scalisian.
Come get some.
Yeah.
And let me say good evening to my dear friend, Michael K.
Fantastic. Magorical game.
And also to Don.
John Stark's a Kia read.
And to Don.
That doesn't move your needle.
And to myself. That had a lot of play on Friday.
That was
Ambassador Johnson?
Not sure. And after the weekend that I had,
Clown show! Clown show! Clown show! Clown show!
I'm firmly in my own head at this point. This is a problem. I haven't been down in the dumps like this in a long time.
It's not over.
It's not close. It's getting close. It's getting late early though.
It's not good. I've never seen such things.
I mean, not just losing, Peter, but losing with an impressive.
Well, think about how lost I was to go against my Detroit Lions, who I love so much.
What made you do that?
All right, it was just like a dumb lost. There's the 3 and the hook in Dallas. You know. Oh, there's no Micah Parsons. Oh, there's no offense at all to speak of. By the way, though, I mean, that's got to be historic. I mean, we'll get into it later, but that is a historic loss. If you're a Cowboy fan and you were at that game, Don, that would be like the worst game you've ever been to in your life, no?
I mean, I'm just trying to think, were there any, in that 1-15 Jimmy Johnson first year, were there any home games that embarrassing?
Mets lead 2-0.
It's all coming together early here. It is early.
Well, Michael? What's Michael's total points there? It's up on this little board right now.
20.5. Don has 24, and you have 9.
So this is
actually 9.5. That was a mistake, giving him the Commander loss. It was a push.
Oh, they didn't give me the half?
No.
Oh, I'm right back in it. Thank you.
He corrected it, but not for the full graphic.
And a lot of people have called me 9.5 before.
Ambassador Johnson?
No, I don't think it was Ambassador Johnson. He doesn't care.
No, that's not what I meant, Don.
I don't know. I'm trying to clean it up.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to yesterday. A preseason game between Minnesota and New York at the Garden. Of course, it's Dante DiVincenzo's first time being back at MSG since being traded from the Knicks a couple of weeks ago. And at the end of the game, he had to be separated from Knicks assistant Rick Brunson during a heated exchange after the game. Players and coaches were shaking hands after the Knicks 115-110 victory, but DiVincenzo and Brunson, the father, of course, of Jalen Brunson, had a brief little verbal dust-up. Now, the reason that it happened was really because Dante was apparently going after Tibbs. Here's DiVincenzo on the comments he made towards the Knicks bench.
It was in a general direction, and obviously they had me on video saying it. I'm not there anymore. I play competitive. I wear my heart on my sleeve, and that's all it was.
What he said was, womp, 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 womp.
Yeah, definitely Charlie Brown's teacher.
But he was basically saying, if you saw the video, that's what happens when they put you in charge. Thanks for the trade. That's what happens when they put you in charge, and was yelling towards Tibbs. I believe, guys, that Brunson was coming to the defense of Thibodeau.
Yes.
In going at DiVincenzo. Here's DiVincenzo. We'll see if this is audible on the video tribute for him and Julius Randle.
It was amazing. I wasn't expecting it, but like I said, there's absolutely nothing from my end.
Not really worthwhile.
He denied saying anything to Thibodeau, right?
Well, it was
Thibodeau.
It was clear. Wait, or Thibodeau? Or Thibodeau.
Thibodeau football, Thibodeau basketball.
There you go.
Sorry.
He declined to specify who he was jawing with on the bench and suggested it was initially maybe an inside joke with Thibodeau. It didn't look like an inside joke. But it is awkward, Michael, to your point earlier, to see a guy who's like close friends with a player fighting with that player's
best
dad.
friends. He said that they're best friends. And, I mean, I hate to say it because Jalen Brunson's been perfect, but you got to stick up for your dad. You got to, hey, pipe down. It's my dad.
I don't know. Is it not, it's not possibly a mind your business situation?
What?
His dad's not an elderly man walking with a cane.
It's his father, though.
But, like, what's he supposed to do? Jump in and throw a punch at Dante?
Well, stand by his dad and shout him down, I guess. I don't know.
Was he? But where was he in that moment?
There.
I don't know if he heard it.
He's right there.
But he might not have known exactly what was going on.
It's a bad look.
But here's the thing. It's a bad look for Dante because it's not like he's in a bad situation. Granted, he didn't want to break up the whole Villanova thing, and the Knicks are in a great situation. I get it. But, you know, it's not like Minnesota's in a bad situation. Minnesota probably feels like they've got as much of a chance as the Knicks to win a championship. So why would you make it seem like you don't want to be there? Doesn't it come across like if you're mad the Knicks traded you, that you're mad that you're in Minnesota? Why would you want that look? And also, NBA, do everybody a favor. Minnesota-New York preseason game? My God, don't they travel enough?
Well, not only that, it's like, I know it just happened to play out this way, but what a waste of sort of the moment of coming back to the Garden. Well, I don't even want that to happen on a random Sunday.
Well, I'm sure the schedule is already set.
It is, I know. You can't do anything
But no,
about
isn't that kind of a far preseason game? I don't know, whatever.
Didn't LeBron complain about that with the Lakers the other day?
Yes, he did.
I'm trying to look right now.
The bases loaded 2 outs in the second. They intentionally walked Lindor to get to Vientos.
The 3-2 pitch to Vientos.
Well, we're way behind. I'm way behind. I just saw the pitch now.
He I think he struck out, 12 times, 13 times already in the postseason, but still been good. Kind of crazy, but I guess because everybody strikes out and still can be a great ball player. But this is a big moment, Michael.
I think, Michael, I'm sorry, I got to disagree with you. I think Brunson could tell that the thing with his dad was nothing.
Well,
he's
afterward,
standing there.
It didn't seem like it was nothing.
Well, no, but in the moment.
Wow, Vientos, grand slam.
You're kidding me.
Grand slam,
like
home run is
yesterday.
redundant. It's just a grand slam.
Oh, come on,
you know
man.
What?
Don't be that
what?
way.
How dare you?
Come on.
That's Don LaGreca.
That's really, you talk to me in a moment and you're going to play the semantics game?
Wow.
Who's fun? The guy who shouted grand slam home run or the guy that's like, it's redundant. Grand slam already insinuates a home run.
6-0 Mets. My Lord.
Dear Heavenly Father above.
Cats and dogs living together. This is the reverse of yesterday.
Yeah.
But even faster. Oh, it's a quiet day at the Ravine.
They're still filing in, Peter. Are you kidding?
No, this is the worst. This is the worst. It's a day game. There are people who are like running from work. You know, they're running in from their car right now.
Right.
They're trying to get through, and they're hearing the radio broadcast airing in the stadium, and they're like, it's 6-0 before you got your hot dog.
Think about this, though, Peter. This is the second game of an NLCS, and they are so short on pitching that the Dodgers have to go with an opener. Now, they're not trying to be clever. They don't have pitching.
This was a planned bullpen game for Game 2.
Amazing.
It's baseball in 2024, baby. And yet, let's throw the pitchers $50 million a year. It doesn't make sense. By the way, maybe they should stop hiring pitchers. Just get someone to throw batting practice.
Strong.
Wow, 6-0. Vientos to grand slam. A 2-out grand slam in the top of the second. Wow. How do you like them apples?
Now, the caller brought up, is this like unprecedented big sports day, considering you have Mets, Yankees, Jets, and all three hockey teams? Well, this is the closest I came, Michael, was October 17th, 1999. So the Mets playing the Braves. Yankees were playing the Mariners. Jets, Seahawks, Giants, Cowboys, Rangers, Thrashers.
Wow.
By the way, you throw out the record books. Rangers, Thrashers, you kidding me?
No, let's throw out the Thrashers.
Can I throw one more thing at you about DiVincenzo?
Yeah, sure. If you want to.
One game gets you a tribute video now? One game.
Oh, come on.
Not one game, 1 year.
Yeah.
Really? 1 year.
I think one game would get you one.
Wow.
I think one game would get you one. It's no, because everybody wants to be politically correct now. If you don the uniform, you got to say thank you.
How many will there be tonight, Don? Kopp, Kane, Tarasenko, Gustafson. We get a Gustafson.
At least you went to a conference. Yeah, it's silly.
Is there a Gustafson video, Don?
No, I think they'll show him and then they'll applaud politely.
Because they have to show the other 5.
Right,
so
and you also need highlights.
And they'll go, once a Ranger, always a Ranger.
That wasn't nice.
I'm just saying. What are you going to do? No, how much work do you want to put the interns through? We got to put. He's a third pair defenseman. I mean, what are you going to do? Just have him skate around the net?
When Ray Bork comes back to Boston, you give him a tribute video. I don't think that. Randall deserved a tribute video. DiVincenzo for 1 year.
No, it should have been a solo Randall tribute video. He deserves a full tribute video. That guy, I'll tell you what, we haven't really spent time breaking down Randall's time in New York. You go look at the amount of years he spent here and what he did. He not only that, he'll be a guy who probably comes back as a future Knick. Like he was a guy here.
But just one quick correction. It was Sunday, October 1999. It was Jets Colts. Yankees Red Sox. That was actually the grand single game for the Mets Braves.
Which you hate.
Robin Ventura. Yeah,
you hate that. Now, before we wrap ENN, because we spent a lot of time here in these first couple stories, you mentioned Nick Sirianni deciding to jaw with Eagles fans after sneaking by Cleveland.
I'm sorry. I know.
No, he's the worst. He's the worst.
Right. But can we get an opinion from somebody who doesn't root in the NFC East? Like, everybody say, well, you're a Giant fan, or you're a Commanders fan. Come on. I need
we need
somebody
Andrew
like in San Diego.
How about an Eagles fan?
He would never admit it. What's so wrong? You're a fan of a team. You can't say toolbox?
Nick Sirianni asked about the interaction with the fans.
Just excited. Just excited to get the win.
Were fans yelling things at you?
Just excited to get the win. Yeah. It's hard to win in this league, so we're excited to get the win. Our fans created a couple false starts that really helped us win this football game, but just excited to get the win and appreciate the Lynx support.
And you're talking about people from the NFC. Don, I was reading stuff from Philadelphia people. Everybody hates this guy.
But I think they hate him because it's starting to look like he's not a great coach.
Yeah, but he also is a Nas.
Well, but I agree with that. But I remember getting into it with Andrew. Remember before the Giants got their heads handed to them in that playoff game 2 years ago, and just before the game starts, Fox has that camera swooping down on the field, and Sirianni followed it and started nodding his head, yeah, and we're like, nozzle. I think Andrew defended it. He's just into it. And Sirianni said after the game, no, I didn't know what to do. The camera was on me, so I wanted to do something. He's got a lot of nozzle.
No, it's not a great situation.
But when you're winning, Peter, I'm sure
people forget.
Love it, yeah.
That'll do it for ENN on this Monday. Brought to you by Security Dodge, 24/7 at securitydodge.com during their Jeep Adventure Days.
Hey, I talk for a living, and whether I'm in the studio or at the ballpark, I'm sure to have a couple. This portion of the Michael K. Show on ESPN Radio is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of New Rochelle, proud member of the Pepe Auto Group, the name you've trusted since 1960. Now, let's go to Dylan in Levittown.
Michael, Don, Peter, how are you?
What's going on?
Good.
I just wanted, first of all, I love the show, and I'm a big fan of all three of you. I just wanted to have a conversation with Don. I just disagree with you about something that you say year after year. And before, you say that about the Giants, I'm a big Giant fan. The good teams find ways to get their new quarterback in the late rounds. I just don't agree. But you're naming the minority of teams, like the Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Jordan Love, and the Dak Prescott. That's the minority. You have to get most of the, Joe Burrow. And my point is that you say, we can get an 8th or 9th round pick and get the quarterback. But
there's no 8th or 9th round. You're talking about picks.
I meant 8th or 9th pick.
All right, well, Russell Wilson was a second-round pick. I'm sorry, it's not the minority. How many are you? All right, so Joe Burrow was first overall. Trevor Lawrence was first overall. How's that working out?
But C.J. Stroud and
second
Peter's
overall.
quarterback.
And we'll see what
No, but
Stroud
you
turns
say
out
that,
to be.
You say that if the Giants are average and they get like an 8th or 9th pick, they could still get a great quarterback. But
Well,
that's
Patrick
not,
Mahomes was
that's not
10th.
how it works.
What do you mean how it works? So tanking is how it works, is what you're saying.
But my point is that sometimes that can help. Like the Bengals literally changed the organization by getting Burrow. So saying like if the Burrows never tanked that year and won 6 games,
I don't know. I don't know if they tanked. I don't remember the season that they had. They might have been legitimately bad. I don't know if they had tanked, but you're giving me the minorities of the times that it's happened, and yet you rattled off a bunch of quarterbacks, and the only one you can come up with that was a top pick was Joe Burrow. I'm saying you don't have to throw. This is for all sports, guys. You don't have to throw your whole franchise. We're still waiting for Philadelphia's process to finally bear any fruit, right? So you got to tank, Michael, to be great. Well, I didn't see Baltimore tank. I didn't see Kansas City tank. Did you? That's the only way, Michael. The only way to turn your franchise around is to be the worst team in football. Jacksonville did it. How's it working out?
Well, it's not the only way, Don, but it is the proven way. There are outliers like Wilson and Tom Brady and Brock Purdy. There are outliers. But for the most part, you get your quarterback early.
And Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. It seems like you can rattle off the best quarterbacks in football, and not many of them were even drafted in the top 5. So what we're saying is that it's not. You said it's the way, or it's the easiest way, or the steadfast way. I disagree. I don't know that to be true. There's been a lot of busts first overall. And you can have a Baker Mayfield who wasn't necessarily a bust, but it took him like 4 teams to finally find it. And what he's found so far in Tampa isn't exactly first overall pick, is it? So you make it seem like this is the only way. No, there's many different ways. And if you're a good organization, you draft well, or you could trade up and make the selection. I love this younger generation. Like the only way to be good is to completely bottom out. But the Bucks didn't need a top pick to win an NBA title. Golden State didn't need a top pick to have a title. All right, Cleveland did with LeBron James. I get it. But you know what? There's other ways. If you know what you're doing, you might be able to figure out a way to get it done. And I've seen plenty of top picks not work out. 2nd overall picks not work out. So can we see what the Giants can possibly do here? But to sit there and root for your team to lose every game so that maybe, just maybe, the 1st overall pick will turn out to be great. Well, maybe, just maybe, my organization can find a quarterback someplace else.
Well, after week 6 of the $2,000 ESPN New York Survivor Pools, 96% of the remaining players survived, with the top 8 picked teams all winning. 73 players will move on to week 7. Follow along the ESPN New York app, powered by RunYourPool.com. All right, we're going to come back, talk more football, Jets and the Bills tonight on Monday Night Football. The man calling all the action, Joe Buck, will join us in just a moment right here on Yes and ESPN New York. The man calling the play-by-play in the booth will be our good friend Joe Buck. He joins us now. Joe, it's Michael, Don, and Peter. How you doing today?
I am good. How are you guys?
Doing great. We were talking to Scott Van Pelt earlier, and he agreed that this is a huge game for the Jets. Do you look at it the same way, Joe?
Yeah, I don't know how you can not. I mean, it's obviously an opportunity. It's obviously the first game after Saleh's firing, and you know, you can talk about, well, it's a battle for first place. We're only in week, whatever it is, 6.
6, yeah.
Not that big of a deal, but I think it would be a nice step forward if they could get this win. It's been frustrating to start the season so much so that the head coach is gone. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot on the line tonight, really, for both teams. I mean, the Bills come in having lost 2 in a row and got blown out by Baltimore and then had to fight their way back against Houston and lost in kind of crazy fashion. So I think both teams look at this game like we need it, and that's always good for us when you're doing it on a Monday night. It feels like a game that, you know, has little extra significance to it.
I wonder how they look at it, or even you look at it. Usually when you fire a coach, it works better in other sports than in football. You have a soft landing for the coach's first game, so you try to get a win, build up something, and here is Buffalo, a battle for first place on national television. But I'm wondering, do they have the Bills' number? They played very well against them at MetLife, won back-to-back games there. A miracle winning last year's game after what happened to Rodgers. Why do you think the Jets seem to match up well with Allen and the Bills at MetLife?
Well, I mean, I think the main thing is Josh turned the ball over 4 times last year. 3 interceptions and a fumble loss. That's usually a recipe for disaster. Amazingly, Josh has not thrown an interception this season, although he joked with us when we met with him. He said, I've thrown interceptions, they just haven't caught them. So, he's looking at this season like, hey, no interceptions through 5 games. And if he keeps that up, they're going to be hard for the Jets or any team to beat. I mean, Allen is that kind of a special athlete. But you're right. I mean, some teams have the other team's number, and we'll see if the Jets get some sort of bounce tonight from making the coaching change. I get a good feeling from them. I have a great feeling from Jeff Ulbrich. And, even talking to Aaron, who, at times can be brutally honest, I think, with the change of coordinator, people wondering how he's going to react to that. I think I asked him at the end of our talk, I said, how optimistic are you? He said strong to quite strong. So whatever that means in Aaron Rodgers' mind, that's up to anybody's interpretation. But I feel like they think they're going to come out and play hard tonight.
I'm curious because behind the scenes, the national guys that are broadcasting the game, as you mentioned, you get to talk to these people longer and probably more in-depth than even the beat writers do. What was your take when you used to speak to Robert Saleh? Did you like him? Did he come across as a guy in total control, Joe?
Yeah. I mean, unequivocally, yes. He was very open. I think sometimes you can kind of get a sense for a person just through those calls, and some guys kind of come off as a little paranoid or worried about sharing too much, and Robert was not that way at all. So, I mean, from what we can tell, and we're not there every day, we're not in the facility, we don't know, what's going on a minute-by-minute basis, but I think Troy would say the same thing. We always came out of our calls and talks with Robert Saleh really impressed, and that goes back to his time with San Francisco when he was running that defense. So it'd be revisionist history to say, he seemed like he didn't really know. No, that wasn't the case at all. He was great.
Do you think we're getting ahead of ourselves, Joe, and feeling like from what we've seen so far, maybe Baltimore in the AFC and Detroit in the NFC are the realest deals we have going?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, are we getting ahead of ourselves? For sure. But I think after, 6 games, if you want to include tonight, I think those are the 2 best teams. I mean, what Detroit did in Dallas yesterday, I don't know if it says more for Detroit or if it says more for Dallas, but it was ugly and just a complete beatdown. But they lose Hutchinson in the process, and that's a big loss for any team. And you could feel that just kind of hanging over the rest of that game after that ugly injury happened. But I think the way they are so varied, I think their roster is outstanding. Goff has been rejuvenated in his time in Detroit, and they're tough to beat, and they can beat you a lot of different ways. So they would get my vote. And yeah, Baltimore right now, nobody wants them. Nobody wants to play them, and they can beat you now through the air or with Henry just pounding it up the middle. So when teams can beat you in various ways, those are the scary ones, and both those teams qualify for that.
It's so amazing how, I guess, style points matter, because the 2 teams that we kind of ignored in this last couple of minutes have been the 2 undefeated teams in Kansas City and Minnesota. Like, obviously, Kansas City's for real. They've won back-to-back Super Bowls, but this might be one of those years where it doesn't feel like there's going to be like a dominant team, that when the 2 undefeated teams seem to have their share of weaknesses and can actually play better.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. We can't dismiss those teams, but I think when you kind of go inside the numbers and inside the records, Kansas City's just so injured. I mean, you lose your top running back, you lose your top 2 wide receivers, you're going to feel that. And, it's basically just, hey, Patrick, go win it, and Andy Reid, go figure out a way to get it done, and they do. I mean, we saw it last Monday night. So, you have to definitely count them in the conversation. And then Minnesota, how real are they? I don't know. But I'm really excited to see the success for Sam Darnold. And I know Jets fans aren't, but, the guy's been through quite a bit. And to see him kind of come out the other end of it and on a 5-0 team, although he wasn't that great against the Jets, I think it's interesting as an outsider to see that happen. But I agree with what you said at first. To me, it's Detroit and Baltimore, and then we'll see how the rest of the season plays out.
I'm sure you and Troy talk before the game, talk all the time. What is his take? What is your take on what Rodgers has looked like so far? Do you think it's a step back from the MVP Rodgers? Is it a step up from the last year in Green Bay? What are you seeing?
I mean, I think he's kind of fallen in line with everything else around him. And, he's a 40-year-old quarterback coming off a major injury, and, he's played well at times, and he has played not well at times. And I think he's been pretty open about, if I played better, the firing wouldn't have happened. And I think you have to agree with that. I mean, the offense is lagging, obviously, so far behind the defense. The defense is outstanding and playing really well, and the offense has turned the ball over a lot and missed some receivers and drops by receivers, and they can't run the ball. I mean, I'm anxious to see if they can establish the ground game in this game. And for a Buffalo team that's allowing over 5 yards a carry, tonight's the night to do it. And for a team that just fired its head coach, tonight's the night to do it for the Jets, and they got to go do it. And like both Ulbrich and Downing told us, they've told their offensive line, quit trying to be perfect. And I think it applies to Garrett Wilson and guys on the outside, too, for Rodgers. Quit trying to play perfect. Go play fast. Find somebody to block and block them. Don't worry about your footwork. Don't worry about your technique. Just get it done. And I think they're going to come out with some jump here at the start. And I'm anxious to watch it.
Would you think, though, that Rodgers would have a problem, Joe? Because, I mean, he's been throwing constantly, and, he's got one of the great arms in the history of the NFL. If all of a sudden Downing decides, we're just going to run the ball down the throat and you hand off.
Would you have a problem with that? Not if it's working. No, I think I do believe him. He's got every individual award possible, times 4 in the MVP category, and it's 4-time All-Pro. So, no, I don't think he's worried about how. I think he's just worried about getting wins. And, that's why he wanted to come here, is to get the Jets into the postseason and to get them, another Super Bowl. And however it has to get done, I fully believe Aaron Rodgers would be on board. If Breece Hall goes off tonight and has 130 yards, I think he'd be thrilled. And I honestly believe that.
And Moses coming back, too, has got to help, too. He felt like he was a really good run blocker that they missed over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, he was brought in here for that reason, and I guess the rookie held up well when he was there. But, they get their offensive line back tonight. And, again, just go play fast. Reestablish the line of scrimmage as you go down the field. And so, they may be banging their head against the wall here early, but I think they're going to try, like heck, to get the two backs going. And then what comes off that, the amazing thing that we've seen with Aaron, and Troy and I have watched it a million times, is his ability with play action and how he works with play fakes. And when you've got a running game that's working, play action passes work brilliantly. When you've got a running game that can't run, play action passes don't work. They don't respect it. So establish the run, and then everything works off that. I think that's how they go into the game tonight.
Before we let you go, I'm curious to get your take on this, Joe. This was usually the month where you'd be doing baseball games, and each team's fan base would think you hate their fans. And I just want to get your take.
Right. Only one of them was right, by the way. I'll just never say which one was right.
You know what? I like that. Keep it a secret. But when you see the social media vitriol directed at announcers, particularly an iconic voice in Bob Costas, what does that make you think about, our business now? Everybody is Andrew Marchand because everybody has a megaphone. What's going on that this sort of thing is like normalized now?
Well, there's only one Andrew Marchand. Yes. Okay, so let's just leave that there. And I want Andrew to hear this. I want him to be nice to me, and I want him to say great things.
Right.
There's only one Phil Mushnick. I say thank God for that.
He's already writing about the fact that you have to be on the show today. There's a big ESPN plan he's writing about.
We're
exactly
because we have you on.
So go ahead.
So
sorry.
amazed. So there's such a Yeah, there's really a deep meaning in my appearance. And
so many people worked on
you
this.
really
I
need the ratings.
Yeah. It's Derek Volner's fault, and I love you guys, so I said yes. That's as deep as it goes. Yeah, I mean, I could do a seminar on this stuff, and I could teach a college course on it. And when I talk to young announcers, this is answering your question, by the way, about when they get into the business, one of the first things I tell them is to turn off social media, because everybody's there to be wittier or nastier than the next. And I'm not doing the, social media sucks and everybody's mean, because that's not the case. I mean, you see a lot of good stuff being done on social media too, but forever I was the only guy that was doing national baseball during the social media era, and I've taken my lumps, and it wore me out. I could sit here and go, oh, that stuff doesn't bother me. It bothered me. And, I don't know how, if you're a human being who cares about what other people, think and do, and you try to be a good person and you try to do a good job, and then you read, how much you suck, or you're lucky that you had a famous dad, and, you hate my team and all that other stuff. As silly as some of that stuff is, it gets annoying, and it just takes some of the fun out of it. So, when people go, hey, do you miss doing the national baseball? I mean, yeah, on one hand, sure. I want to be sitting there in the ninth inning and somebody gets a big double into the corner and a runner scores from first base and a team wins and the crowd goes crazy. I want to be the one calling that. But there's that other side of the coin, too. So, I mean, it's just ridiculous. And I get it, because fans care, and that's the good side of it. But for Bob to go through that, or anybody, Joe Davis or, Brian Anderson or whoever, you have to just tune that stuff out and go do your job, and you either do that or don't do it. And so these days I'm not doing it, and somebody else is, and they can enjoy that, and I can just go home and go to bed.
See, I'm so glad you said that, Joe, because I have arguments with Don and Peter, because it does affect me when I see it, and I stop reading it after a while, but you're a human being. You want to be liked by people, and if you see all this nastiness, it does have an impact. And I'm glad that somebody at your level can admit it.
You get to the point, Michael, you get to the point where you feel like everybody thinks that. And then you walk through the world, and you go, you know what? Not everybody's saying that. Nobody really cares, to be honest with you. If you're calling, you needed to be more excited. You needed to be less excited. And it affected my calls. I mean, And here's the part where we tab awful announcing. In 2006, I made a call at the end of the World Series, and I was so beaten down by he's from St. Louis. The Cardinals are going to win the World Series. They're going to beat the Tigers. And, how's the St. Louis guy doing this? And this is awful. He hates it. And I can honestly say, when you do these games, I'm worried about my job. I'm not, and I used to joke, I'm not worried about the result in the field any more than the guys on the field are worrying about how good of a job or bad of a job I'm doing in the booth. I've got a job to do. They've got a job to do. So you just call it. But when you get death by 1,000 cuts, it starts getting in your head, and you're like, I don't want to get too crazy and too excited, because then everybody in Detroit's going to think I'm rooting for the Cardinals, which is the furthest thing from my mind, except right then. And then it kind of takes the starch out of it. So, by the time I came back from my vocal issue, I was like, screw it. I'm just going to have fun. I'm going to let it rip. I'm not going to try to be Pat Summerall Jr. I'm just going to go have fun and be myself. And if people like me, great. And if they don't, I don't care. And, that's the way that's the only way to be in this business.
And, don't make, Michael make me out to be like I've got it all figured out. I get ripped, calling Ranger games too. And in doing this show, we all go through it. But what I found that worked for me, I don't know if you go through it. If I think I nailed it, I don't feel the need to go to social media. It's when I don't think I nailed it that I go. So then I realized, really, it's only about how I feel about it, so why to go at all?
Well, I don't ever think I nailed it. And so consequently, you kind of go in with like one eye open. And by the way, this will also be taken as like, oh, these guys are sitting there whining about getting made fun of on social media and all that. I get it. Everybody's soft, and the person that's tweeting it has got the world figured out. I'm just not – I don't go there to get validation for my career or my life or my existence. And like I started to say, I tell young people getting in, turn it off. Find 3 or 4 people whose opinion matters to you, who you think's going to give you an honest opinion. Is what I told Tom Brady. Turn it off. Find 3 people whose opinion you trust and ask them. And then watch your own stuff and be honest with yourself. Is it good enough? Is it not? And if you can, then I think you're better off than going and, licking your thumb and holding it up to the wind to see if you're any good or not. Because more than likely, the Twitterverse is going to tell you you're not.
The subtle flex of giving career advice to Tom Brady, Joe, was unbelievable.
What a jerk, Peter.
Well, let me tell you. Don't. That's no flex, because Tom Brady called everybody he's ever met about doing broadcasting.
Really? He was that on top of it, huh?
I mean, and good for him. He took everybody's temperature on it, and he was wonderful to talk to. And he talked to Troy, talked to me, talked to Romo, he talked to Olsen. I mean, on and on and on. So, that's his preparation, and good for him. And I was happy to share whatever I had with him. And I'll continue to do so when he asks. I'm here to help whoever wants help.
I wanted to ask you before we let you go. You and your wife did a great job, in a sort of playful way, talking about the freak golf accident where you accidentally drove a ball into her legs and she had to have surgery. But I got to ask you, though, man, I saw you, post about this, that you still, wake up hearing the sound. In all seriousness, you guys made it sort of light and fun because all's well that ends well. How scary was it when you realized you'd hit your wife with a golf ball?
It was awful. I mean, it's the worst sound I've ever heard. And I feel like you have to couch everything. People have been through way worse, but it was golf ball smashing into bone and skin on a person I love more than anybody, and it hurt, and she was rolling around screaming, and it was terrible. And then if that sound didn't wake me up in the middle of the night, the thought of, what if I duck hooked it or hit some sniping thing and it hit her in the head? And, we're there on a vacation, and we're there with our little boys, and my daughters had just left. And then what? I mean, so she's been unbelievable. She's so much tougher than me, and people say that, and haha. I would be complaining about it constantly. She has never one time given me any extra guilt. I've got enough on my own, and she's been amazing. So I can't say enough with how strong she's been through this thing. It's not been fun. She's still in pain, still can't walk without assistance, and people want to make it a joke, and it's crazy and fluky and all that, but it's not that funny, really.
No.
And I think there's some emotion to be dealt with there on both of our parts that we kind of stuffed, to use a psychology word.
Well, I hope
glad she's on the mend, though.
Yeah, I hope she's on the mend.
Yeah, no, she is. She'll be back. She'll be back to work, and just kills her not to work, and I get that, but, she'll be okay.
Joe, have a great call tonight. Thanks you always
Joe.
for your honesty. We appreciate it.
Thanks,
now
Joe.
that I'm all depressed.
Sorry about
Blame
that,
Peter.
Joe.
That was Peter.
You almost got out of it.
Jeez. All right, I'll try to gather myself.
Yeah, stay off social media. Thanks, Joe.
God bless.
And then I'll go to Twitter. Then I'll go to Twitter, and then I'll go to the New York Post.
Well, yeah, and the awful announcing article on your appearance should be up soon.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait.
Have a good call.
Thanks, Joe.
All right. See ya.
Jets and the Bills tonight on Monday Night Football. You know what? That was refreshingly honest.
He is that, though. He gives us no airs. That's the thing that I love about Joe. It's number one, he doesn't suffer fools, but he's also just he does not have a filter. He just gives you real answers. It's so refreshing.
And I don't want to play pop psychologist, but when I think I nailed it, I never suggest that I'm perfect. Nobody's ever perfect. But you do sometimes think, I did a good job. But he holds himself to a different standard. I never think I nailed it. Why? You're awesome at what you do. Nobody's going to be perfect. So, and Michael's kind of the same way, where you instead of enjoying a job well done, always trying to figure out a way that you could do it better. And I guess that's what's the difference between people who do it well and people who do it very well and people who do it on a Hall of Fame level, is that they're always looking to get better.
See, I don't ever think, the word nailed it makes you seem like, you're cocky, and I know that's not what you meant. You know when you've done a good job. I think that sometimes I go searching when I know I made a mistake. or I didn't do a good job, and I'm looking to see, did people notice? And boy, they notice. And that's the time when I should stay away. You know what I mean?
Well, I used to do this thing when I first got on WWE TV. Because wrestling fans are obviously very specific and passionate also, especially anyone who's paying attention to what we talk about on our countdown shows. I would search my name. That's the craziest thing to do. Searching your name is truly masochistic and psychotic. If you reply me, whatever, but I no longer search to see what people said. It was always negative.
Right, but what's interesting is when you made a mistake, you go to social media, you're hoping that nobody noticed it or how many people noticed it. But again, you just can't. I'm the same way, but I just think that you can't think about it. And also, you also realize that the positive is also coming from a different place. Mm-hmm. So sometimes the positive is way over the top and not necessarily as positive as they make it out to be because maybe somebody has an agenda to trust, hey, like me kind of thing. So don't buy into any of it. It's a nice little guide. It's nice to interact with people. I do like social media that way. But if you're looking for confirmation on a job well done, that is not the place to go.
And a guy that's in the Hall of Fame said it affected him. So, I mean, you're not weak if it affects you. You're human. You're a human. Hey, I talk for a living, and whether I'm in the studio or at the ballpark, talk to Joe Buck, the Jets and the Bills tonight on Monday Night Football. It's a huge game for the Jets. Huge game. You change a coach, you want to get a result. And if you end up and you lay an egg, that's a bad look. Then it wasn't Robert Saleh, was it? So that's something that they have to consider.
Yeah, I think that's unfair on the other side, too. They think everything's going to be well after one game, but listen, that's the way it's going to be judged, right? Didn't work this time. Now you're 2-4. Now the division's getting away from you. And one thing I'll disagree, we had SVP on earlier today, Scott Van Pelt. He believes that you could still be a wild card team coming out of the East. But, I think Cincinnati's going to play better. They're going to figure it out. They're going to start winning some games here. And I don't know if it's a fait accompli, Michael, there's going to be a wild card there. How many wins is it going to take? 9 wins, 10 wins to get the wild card? Well, if you're 2-4, time starts to run out on you. You change your coach. It didn't work right away. I mean, it's still a kind of tough schedule. You got to play the Bills again, this time in Buffalo. So if not now, when? And this offense has got to get going. I think Moses coming back to the offensive line is going to help. I think they'll run the ball more. Fresh start for a team that they have to feel comfortable playing against at MetLife. So they have every reason to believe that they're going to win. So let's see if they do it.
1-800-919-3776. Mets lead the Dodgers 6-0 in Game 2 of the NLCS. If you want to listen to that, that's on 880 right now. Now, following that game, we'll have the Yankees and the Guardians, Game 1 of the ALCS. So that follows Met broadcast. We'll have the Yankee broadcast on after that. And if you're watching us on the Yes Network, our pregame show will start at 6:30 following this fine show on the network. Let's go to John in the Bronx. John. Hello, John.
Hi.
John?
All right.
Actually called back, too. He was on hold earlier. Called back, and that's what he made of.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Bill in New Jersey. Bill. Hello, Bill. Bill?
I hope there isn't.
I don't like what's happened.
What do you think is happening?
The last
you think it's
30 to 45 seconds.
Let's go to Bill in Delaware. Bill.
All right.
Me.
Hello, Bill.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well.
Good.
Listen, I got a question for Peter, and I was just kind of curious. He made a comment that he was thinking about going to the Yankee game, yada, yada, yada. I'm just curious because I guess it was non-committal, and I'm wondering why. His past, he said he don't go to any sporting event unless he's in a suite. Now, is he waiting on somebody to offer him access to the suite because he's a little tight, or is it because he just likes to be in a suite?
Well, Bill, it's a great question by you, but I have to push back a little bit. My suite rule is only for football. For football, I want a suite. I'm not saying, by the way, it's not a hard and fast rule, right? Like, if my commies were in a playoff game, Don, I'm sure I'd go and wouldn't need a suite. But generally speaking, you say to me, hey, I got tickets for you to go to a random game at MetLife Stadium. Yeah, put me in a suite, please. For baseball, no suite required. Baseball, the charm of baseball and the best thing about baseball, frankly, is that you can basically sit anywhere in the ballpark and have a good time. I don't need that at all. So, no, that wasn't the issue. The issue was I was offered one ticket for tonight to join a friend, and I just got back from leaving my wife to go watch a game.
Oh, you didn't take your wife to Baltimore, did you? I didn't know that.
I did not. No. I was with friends. I was with high school and college friends. So that's why I said, you know what, let me wait. And I'd like to go to a playoff game, but I'd like to go with Natalie. So that's why I'm.
Did you guys get hammered at the ballpark yesterday?
No, we did not get hammered. But I enjoyed a couple of adult beverages. It was a tremendous view, and that building in Baltimore. I'll tell you what, M&T Stadium, man, what an awesome stadium.
Bad name, but good stadium, I heard.
Tough name.
Empty stadium.
And
that's not good.
I'm a little upset because there's a big viral thing going on right now of some moron in Baltimore who was wasted and walking around looking to attack random Commanders fans and successfully knocked one out in a horrifying sort. Don, it was a brutal knockout.
Has he been arrested?
Time.
Give him a few minutes. His Facebook page is everywhere. All of his stuff is now everywhere. But he was just seeking out a Commanders fan to knock out. Of course, he picked someone who's about 1.5 feet shorter than him and just completely destroyed him. And then looked at a camera, like Michael looked at a camera and said, "I don't lose." This is after attacking a stranger for no reason. And by the way, buddy, I got news for you. Your loss here is going to be immeasurable. I mean, to be totally honest, and I'm not wishing this on anyone, even someone who did something horrible, like it's probably, Don, an immeasurable life loss that's going to happen now.
Well, unless he didn't have a life, and this was his life.
And that was his high point.
Because then I'm sure he'll get an opportunity where he belongs to have to, on almost daily basis, have to defend himself and prove his strength and worth.
Right. You were so good at fighting. Good news. You get to do this all the time. But it was completely unrepresentative of the experience I saw. The fans in Baltimore were lovely. It was very cool. And by the way, Giants fans are great here, too. I love going to New York games as a fan of an out-of-town team. I think fans here are generally lovely.
Out-of-time or out-of-town team?
I meant to say out-of-town. I didn't mean to say time.
He was talking extemporaneously.
Well, that's what we do, Don. That's why we get paid.
Yeah.
So I've been watching
don't forget
Dodgers
this, Michael.
a lot. Phantasmagorical game. One of the things I keep seeing is an advertisement on their ribbon board. That's the stuff that lights up. It's not constant. For Forest Lawn.
Okay.
Which is a cemetery, a famous cemetery out in Hollywood.
Right.
When do cemeteries have to advertise? I mean, you're never at a loss for business. Well, what is that about?
Well, but you have options, Michael.
But I mean, really, you have to advertise. I've never seen a cemetery advertised at an arena or a ballpark.
It's an interesting choice.
But if you're a responsible person, you should be doing all this stuff before you die. So what they're doing is encouraging everyone that's alive to start planning ahead.
But you think the 55,000 people at Dodger Stadium really want to think about death? It's just an odd choice, that's all.
Well, their money's as green as anybody else's.
Well, I get why the Dodgers are accepting it. I don't understand why they're spending it.
Listen, I don't know why half these people or these companies advertise, because I don't even know what it's for. Sometimes I watch commercials and I'll go, what was that?
You don't know what Farziga's for?
I don't know what they're advertising. Well, I will not get until I don't understand how prescription drugs advertise. It makes no sense to me. We've talked about this before. If I'm going to go to a doctor, he should tell me what I should take. I shouldn't tell him. If I got to tell him or her, then I'm going to go find another doctor.
Let's go.
So I don't get that.
Let's go to Evan in Brooklyn. Evan?
Hey, Don, Michael, Peter. How you guys doing?
Great. How about you?
Doing great. Love the show.
Thank you.
Big New York Sports Day night.
Huge.
But I wanted to just ask a different question. Michael, of all your media outlets, calling games on the radio, calling games on TV, center stage, this talk show, what's your favorite and why?
I think calling the games is my favorite. Because it's right there in front of you. Like this show there's a lot of prep work and you really have to come up with stuff to engage, but you're just calling what's going on the field. And that's what I always wanted to do since I was a kid. I can't say when I was 9 years old, I said, gee, I wish, I'm hosting a talk show for 22 years. I mean, it's been a nice offshoot, and I love it. But if you're saying it was my favorite, it's doing the games on TV.
Well, I think we all started off as fans, and then we all started off dreaming that maybe one day we might be able to play. And I look at play-by-play as the closest thing to actually being an athlete because it's the only time you get to do things in game. Yep. Our whole life is pre-game and post-game. Recap, preview. But when you're doing play-by-play, you're in the moment. And that's a cool place to be.
Dennis in Huntington.
Hey, guys. Before I get to my Yankee Stanton Wells point, is there something wrong with Anthony? He seems very depressed.
You mean our Anthony?
I call in, he's just like...
You mean Anthony Pusick?
It's his demeanor.
Yeah, he's a miserable guy. He doesn't smile
he's
much.
Very, whenever I give my point, it's either he hangs up on me or he's just like, oh, I'll put you on hold.
Dennis,
come on, man. I'm
Dennis,
trying to get onto the station and talk to the guys.
Well, Dennis,
Michael K. and them boys.
and boys, that's right. Now, Dennis, real quick, two things. One, your assessment of Anthony's not completely off. But Anthony, I'd like a response here. You have the floor.
Thanks for the feedback, Dennis.
See, he's
that
just miserable,
help.
Dennis.
See, that doesn't
help at all. It just it cements it.
You have nothing, Anthony, specific about Dennis's calls that you want to elaborate on?
What do you want to talk about?
Bring it.
He says that when he calls you generally, you just kind of like...
You either hang up or
treat him
go,
well.
okay, I'll put you on hold.
I'll be better next time.
What? We just hung up on Dennis.
Why'd you hang up on him?
I didn't do that.
Tom, why'd you hang up on Dennis there?
Said he had the point about Stanton and Wells.
You hung up on him on a weak point.
Yeah, that's my bad.
Tom, for future reference, if we're in the middle of a back and forth where I'm trying to draw Anthony into a fight, don't hang up on the guy who I'm trying to get in a fight
call
with.
back. We apologize. That was not us.
And that wasn't even Anthony. That was Tom. But so, Anthony, you don't remember this Dennis character?
No, not really.
But Anthony, you would admit you're kind of you're kind of morose most of the time.
Sure.
Yeah? The two teams you root for are doing pretty well, the Rangers and the Yankees.
Yeah.
See, this is...
Things are going pretty well.
What's going on, though? Why do you sound this way?
I don't think it's any of our business. I'm sure whatever it is, it's really dark.
I think I'm the same I've always been.
Yeah, miserable. We don't want you to be. You're a good person. You got a lot going for you. You're young.
Yeah, there's so much life ahead of you. Why do you sound this way?
Girlfriend, happy family. You got a really bright career that's just right now the foundation is being built on what it's going to be a tremendous career in life.
That sounds fantastic.
Exactly. That's why people want to know why you sound so ornery. Right. Maybe we'll see. We'll figure it out.
Let's go to Joe in New Jersey. Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, guys. I value you guys' opinions.
Okay.
One, Michael, the other day you said a judge is making $40 million a year. He might be underpaid. You might be right.
I said that he might be underpaid?
No, you said he might be under, and you're right, because if he was a free agent now, he'd get more money. Yeah. I frowned on it at first, but he probably would.
He definitely would. I think that Soto's going to get more than 40.
Oh, absolutely. Also, let's admit it, the stars are aligned. The Yankees are going to the World Series, and they're not going to lose to these clowns, right?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't call. Thank you, Joe. I wouldn't call any team that's made it this far clowns. They've had a really good year, but I think that the Yankees will go to the World Series. They should beat the Guardians.
I think talking to people like that last caller is the reason Anthony is depressed.
He does get his share of calls that are tough.
Mark in Pennsylvania.
Thank you.
Hello, Mark.
Hey, guys. Hey, how do you guys feel about Aaron Boone starting Rizzo tonight over Birdie Oswaldo?
Love it. Why don't you like it?
I don't know. I mean, the Birdie Oswaldo combo, OPS, highest among first basemen in the AL playoffs so far.
Oh, my goodness. They played 2 games apiece. Mark.
Yeah, but they look good.
Yeah, but Rizzo is a platinum glove first baseman.
He's got 2 broken fingers.
Yeah, okay, so if it doesn't work out, they'll take him out. It's a pain management thing. I mean, you fell in love with Birdie and Cabrera as first baseman that quickly?
I mean, I've been in love with Oswaldo all year, and I just don't understand he didn't get the playing time he deserved, I think.
That's fair if you've liked him all year. That's cool, but, I mean, this is the only play. The guy's healthy enough. He says he's healthy enough. They saw him take BP. He's healthy enough to play. You play him. He's the veteran. He's a leader on the team. Of course you play him.
That's where you want to err, right? He's your starting first baseman. He can go, he goes.
Right, and if he does, and if he's not good enough, then you know what? Birdie and Cabrera are still on the team.
Exactly.
How could you question this? We had other people that were on hold early. We didn't get the calls earlier. Well, why are they starting? Why wouldn't they start Rizzo? If he's healthy enough, why wouldn't you start him? And that's not a knock on Birdie and Cabrera. Goodness, people fall in love. Peter, did you like my interview that I did with Jay-Z?
Oh, my gosh. It's so good. I mean, it's cringe.
That's what makes it good.
Not the whole. Hold on, the whole interview. Let me be clear in making fun of you. The whole interview wasn't cringe. The bit that you did where you dressed up in his clothes, the Rockaware gear, and then you come out and throw up a terrible diamond. I mean, it's like a hexagon. I don't know what the hell you
What was
threw up.
this?
Yeah, everyone, I recommend going on my Instagram, Rosenberg Radio. I've posted the video. It's my most recent post, I believe, and it's a throwback to Michael's center stage with Jay-Z. But I don't know if you remember, they did something where, like, I guess Michael and our good friends at Yes said, let's dress Michael up in Rockaware and start a segment by having Jay-Z introduce
Well,
Kay.
that was pretty cool, though, to have Jay-Z do that.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, now the way that part aged tremendously well. The you dressing up in the Rockaware, not as well.
But you know what? I'm willing to kind of make a buffoon out of myself for entertainment.
Well, that's what I appreciate about you. And believe me, I don't know if you saw the likes and comments on the post, did tremendously well.
I didn't see that.
People love, by the way, it's going to do even better now. People are going to love it.
Jose Drost Jr. has a really good point. He says on X, guys, I think it's time you all pull Pusick aside and get him the number to BetterHelp.
Well, it's promo code Peter, BetterHelp.com.
Hey, NFL yesterday. What a day in the NFL. Peter's got that and much
to get
more
into.
When we get back. It's 6-0 Mets, by the way, in the top of the fifth. That runners on first and second and 2 outs. Game 2 of the NLCS. Game 1 of the ALCS is tonight. Yankees and the Guardians. So we'll be all over that tomorrow, and we'll be all over the Mets and the Dodgers right now. First, though, we'll get a break, and Peter will come back with the NFL yesterday right here on Yes and ESPN Radio New York.
NFL yesterday.
Oh, yeah, baby. They just showed a snake on the stairs at Dodger Stadium. Ugh.
Not what you want. Will this be, Michael, like the black cat in front of Leo DeRocha in 69? The snake on the stairs?
I'm not a big snake
Spells doom
fan.
for the Dodgers? I'm not a big bug guy. I think a snake. I think I can handle. It's got a bunch of bugs on the stairs.
You see bugs more often than snakes.
Well, I'm not talking about ants. I'm talking about like
real
actual
bugs.
Yeah. Who wants that?
Guys, let's go back to the NFL yesterday.
Shall we?
It was a day, wasn't it? It started off badly for me out of the gate. Caleb Williams is starting to show why he was the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. He threw for 226 and 4, count them.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4 touchdowns, and the Bears 35-16 just ambush of the Jaguars. That's right. Let's go to ESPN 1000 in Chicago.
Snap to Caleb. Good protection. Middle of the field. Up in the air. Over the middle for the touchdown. Touchdown Bears. And it's Keenan Allen. What a throw. What a catch. And the Bears extend their lead to 20-3 over Jacksonville. How about that?
Williams becomes the 3rd rookie in Bears history with 4 passing touchdowns in a game. Joining Cade McNown.
The Bears have quite the list of quarterbacks.
And Ray Boyvid. Yeah, 1937.
Didn't even throw then.
He was 5'3", 114 pounds. And it wasn't a football. It was a large rock. But either way, The Jaguars are 1-13 versus NFC North opponents dating back to 2012. Who would have picked the Jaguars? A fool.
Let me ask you this.
Well, that was me.
Are we there yet or very close to having the conversation? Did Doug Peterson actually win a Super Bowl?
Well, he had them in the
getting to the
playoffs.
Clown show. Clown show.
Huh?
Clown
Yeah,
show.
he had the Jaguars in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's going to lose his job.
Okay, but I mean, it doesn't make him a bad coach.
But
I'm
what
just
the
asking,
hell
are we getting to that point? Mike McCarthy goes to the playoffs all the time. I'm just saying.
By the way, we'll get there in a moment.
right.
Caleb Williams, post-game, who do you credit for the 4 TDs?
Offensive line, coaching, progress, and the leadership on this team. For me, the constant mindset of keep going. I think us getting out there and getting our momentum going, us getting out there and executing, us believing in each other is what you credit it to.
And they didn't make the playoffs last year. It was the year before.
Yeah, before.
In Baltimore yesterday, it was the third starting QB matchup in NFL history between the reigning Heisman winner and the reigning MVP. How you like that?
Really?
Lamar versus Jaden. Jackson improves to 7-0 against rookie quarterbacks in his career, joining Steve Young 8-0 and Troy Aikman 7-0. Plus Randall Cunningham also 7-0 as the only QBs to have a perfect record with at least 7 wins against rookie quarterbacks. Who finds these stats? We don't know. Let's go back and hear from our friend Steve Levy on ESPN Radio.
Taking 4.5 minutes off the clock. Uh-oh. Straight ahead. Derrick Henry, untouched into the end zone. How does that happen? Touchdown, Ravens. And they'll go up 2 scores.
I've got 2 takes on Derrick Henry I've been excited to share all day with you. Tell me if you guys agree with one or both. Number 1, he's one of those guys, he should have always been a Raven. Why wasn't Derrick Henry always a Raven? I saw him sitting there on the bench in his jersey, and I'm like, that's a Raven, dude. He's gonna win a Super Bowl with the Ravens. We'll end up forgetting that he was dominant with Tennessee for a decade. Right. This was the place. And also, what a middle finger to the entire conversation about A, running backs not being valuable. B, running backs being done at 30 years old. Whichever team got Derrick Henry, they were going to change as a team.
I was listening to the Baltimore feed of that in the car.
I love it.
He had like a 5-yard gain. There was nothing there. Dragged a couple of defenders, 5 yards, and the announcer sounded disappointed. And the play-by-play guy goes, "How spoiled are we? He just earned 5 hard yards, and we're like disappointed he didn't have more."
He's unbelievable. And how about this? My second Derrick Henry take. Could he be the most underappreciated, iconic athlete of this generation?
Athlete? Not just football player and running back?
Not just football. Like, think about it across sports. Who's as good at their job in sports as Derrick Henry? Has no problems. There's no off-the-field issues. He's just incredible. I can't tell you what he really sounds like. I don't know anything really about Derrick Henry.
He's starting to do commercials now. I forget what it's for, because remember, commercials don't resonate with me.
No, not at all.
He's flipping over a refrigerator or something. But, because he hasn't played in many big games. He played in 1 championship game with Tennessee. And Tennessee's always been that, again, Thursday kind of feel to it.
Yep.
Now he's on a big-time team. I think that narrative
it's going to change, right?
Yeah,
he is the man. All right, the Buccaneers were coming off of a crushing overtime loss to the Falcons in Week 5, but they bounced back against the Saints as they scored the second most points in a game in franchise history. They did it for Michael K's pick.
They did.
They threw up a 51 spot, 594 yards. Let's hear the call from 98 Rock.
In motion, Godwin. Play action fake. Mayfield looks downfield, throws a pass. So caught ball on their left side. Out across the 50 to the 45 is Godwin. He breaks another tackle. Godwin way down the sideline, outside the numbers to the 10. 5, 3, 2, 1. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Chris Godwin fought through a tackle, got his balance, and scoots 55 yards to the promised land.
They're a team, man. By the way, weird. The Ravens are on 98 Rock in Baltimore, and that's 98 Rock in Tampa Bay for the Buccaneers.
Did you hear their
Baker
story,
Mayfield.
though? Earlier in the week, their owner took every player, every front office member, every family member, and 35 to 40 pets, and put them up in New Orleans so that they could get out of Tampa before the storm hit.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
That's class.
Yeah, that's really nice. I don't know if that was exactly the crowd I was worried about not being able to find safety during the storm.
But they were telling stories that their homes were destroyed. A lot of the assistant GM had 4 feet of water in the home.
Oh, absolutely. No, listen, I'm sure that everyone still suffered, but that is very, very cool. Good job by the Bucks. Baker Mayfield on bouncing back to get to 4-2.
I think just what this team embodies, what we talked about of handling one thing at a time this week, among many other things, and there's going to be a lot of distractions, a lot of ups and downs, and you just got to handle it the right way, and that's how our team handled that second quarter. Obviously not doing the defense any favors by giving them short fields multiple times in a row and holding them to a couple field goals.
That's enough. Thanks, Baker. Now, let's move on to Dallas and Detroit. Every Thanksgiving, it seems like Detroit gets short shrift compared to Dallas, right? It's all about the Dallas game. Well, the two Thanksgiving teams met in Dallas yesterday on Jerry Jones' 82nd birthday. And what happened was a 47-9 throttling by the Lions.
You had the Cowboys on the pick, right?
The fourth worst loss at home in Dallas Cowboys history.
Now, imagine that Raven fan, the video against the Commanders. Imagine that as a football game.
I know. It was literally just being punched in the forehead. Let's hear something. 97.1, the ticket in Detroit.
First drive, third quarter. There's the shotgun snap to Goff. Back, looking, throwing right side. Got a man out there. J-Mo, touchdown, Detroit Lions. Oh, baby. Goff with a rainbow. Williams hauls it in, and the Lions add to their lead.
Where was the game, Detroit or Dallas? I guess at that point, everyone was already gone who was a hardcore Cowboy fan. It was just Detroit fans left.
How about this, Peter? Last
cheering.
4 home games for the Cowboys, including the postseason. 0-4. Opponents score 41.8 points per game. And they average 448.8 yards. Point differential of -82.
Think about how popular they are with the public, that they were only a 3.5-point dog. They should have been a 7.5-point dog. When you give those stats and you think about what happened, what moron would pick them?
Yeah.
Oh, it was me. Jerry Jones, are you considering a coaching change?
Oh, I haven't even considered that. I'm not considering that. Just so you're clear, I'm not considering that.
But you've done it once before.
I wouldn't be a hypothetical in that matter. Do you think I'm an idiot?
Well, I think you'd be an idiot if you're not considering it, Jerry. This team is flailing. I know they have injury problems.
A lot of injuries.
But Don, you can't tell me a loss like that at home doesn't start stirring the conversation. That'll
Especially
do it
at home.
For the NFL yesterday, Week 6 edition.
Week 6, NFL yesterday, a very interesting week, and the week ends tonight with the Jets against the Bills, and you could hear that, watch it on Monday Night Football. That'll be on ESPN and on ABC. We'll finish it up. We'll take you right into, what is it, Dan Grossa?
No, on 1050, it's going to be Rangers and the Red Wings. And on 880, the continuation of the Mets game, followed by Yankees and Guardians.
It's 6-1 now, Mets over the Dodgers, 6-1. They're in the top of the... Boy, that game's moving slow. Top of the 6th inning.
Now moving bottom 6.
Now we go bottom of the 6th. Okay, cool enough. We'll come back with your phone calls, a lot of other things, previewing Yankees and the Guardians, right here on Yes and ESPN New York.
Don't know. Have no idea right now. The kind of quality. And Trevor Lawrence was transcendent, Michael. This was going to be the greatest quarterback to come out of the draft since Andrew Luck. And maybe he will end up having a really good career, Michael, but did you want to fall all over yourself to get Trevor Lawrence the way he's played so far? He's been okay. He's won a playoff game. But does he look like the transcendent talent? And yet the greatest quarterback right now walking the face of the earth was taken 10th overall. Lamar Jackson, 2nd round. Hurts, 2nd round. I mean, come on, man. What are we doing?
You sound like Joe Biden.
How about this?
I'm being serious right now.
Mike Greenberg, 10 minutes ago, tweeted this out. Do you agree? Hard to remember the last Jets game that felt like this. Like, literally, everything is at stake. Tonight will either be the beginning of something or the end of everything. Let's go.
It's
dramatic, hyperbolic.
It's a little dramatic. Listen, he's a talk show host that is looking for that angle, but could I see them getting up from this, Michael? I guess so. What if they play well and just the Bills are a little bit better and they win the game in overtime, but the offense looks better, played a great game, just lost to a better team? All right, 2-4. Does that mean everything's over? If they get crushed and don't look like they belong on the field, then yes, I would agree. But I just can't say LW is going to be the all-defining of the season. Not in Week 6. Can you say it? Big game, but come on.
Listen, I see why if you're a hardcore Jets fan, you think everything could fall apart tonight. I really do. Now, there are scenarios in which it's not that big, right? Like, I don't think a tough loss here says much either way, Don, right? Like, they lose 27-24 on a late Josh Allen touchdown. Okay, but they get dismantled tonight. It looks like they have no offense. Like, Rodgers throws 3 picks again. I can see how the wheels completely come off
I need to see what it looks like. I just can't say, win, everything's fine, lose, it's over.
All right, let me get you set up with the Mets are right now. Bottom of the 6th inning, Mets lead 6-1 over the Dodgers. Mookie Betts and Teoscar Hernandez have opened this inning with a walk, each with a walk against Sean Manaea. Jeremy Hefner, the pitching coach, goes out and talks with Manaea. So the Dodgers have runners on first and second, nobody out. And, the weakness of the Mets has been their bullpen. So if they get into the bullpen, do you think things change? Freddie Freeman will come up next against Manaea. This portion of the Michael K. Show on 880 ESPN or ESPN New York is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz of White Plains, proud member of the Pepe Auto Group, the name you've trusted since 1968. Manaea's second half of the season has been amazing. And really, the reason it's been amazing, he's changed his arm slot. He watched Chris Sale pitch and decided to come 3/4, different pitcher. He's always had really bad numbers against the Dodgers, but so far it's just 1 run over 5 innings. But in a little bit of trouble right now, first and second with Freddie Freeman at the plate. Let's go to Scoop in Miami. Scoop.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing?
First time, long time.
Cool.
I'm good. I just wanted to say, if you're a Jets fan of, any age, this is probably the 4th biggest game of our lives behind the 2 AFC championship games and the game where we didn't get Trevor Lawrence. So enjoy it. And if you're not watching fully nude, you're not doing it the right way.
That's a great point.
Wow.
So, God, people.
Oh, Iglesias just made an error.
Yeah. It would have been a double play,
and now the bases are loaded.
Wait, so, again, and again, the biggest game since we didn't get Trevor Lawrence.
Well, Trevor Lawrence is better than Zach Wilson, Don.
God,
I don't think you'd be in the Aaron Rodgers business if you had Trevor Lawrence.
But it's the biggest game since the 2 championship games and the game we didn't get Trevor Lawrence. Okay, great.
The mud ball wasn't big?
No, apparently to him, no.
The fake spike wasn't big?
Nothing. No, there was no big games, Michael. Just one that they didn't tank, and then the 2 championship games, and this game, game 6 of the season, 2-4 to be over. So I wouldn't look good, but that's great. Enjoy yourself. Be naked, but be naked for another reason.
Manaea out of the game as the Mets will go to the bullpen.
That's 12 outs to get. Now you haven't used Diaz, obviously since Wednesday, so he's fresh, but I can't say that I can't wait for him to get a 6-out save. They got the 5-run lead, Michael, but one swing of the bat, and all of a sudden it's a 1-run game. So Iglesias has been good, but that was a double play, runner at third, 2 outs. Manaea stays in the game likely, and then you only need to get 9 outs. And now Phil Maton, who's not been good in this postseason, is going to go up there with the bases loaded, nobody out. Wow, I never thought 6-0, Michael. I'd be chewing my fingernails all of a sudden.
Bases loaded, no outs will do that, Don.
Let's go to Jonathan in L.A.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
How's it going, fellas? Michael, 2 years ago, you clearly told us that the Yankees that you chose the Astros over the Yankees, that you don't see the Yankees getting past the Astros. Now I want to see what are your thoughts on this year. What team do you think it's more tough, either the Mets, Dodgers, or Guardians? And do you see us winning a World Series? And also one more thing, Ohtani, I know that you don't want the Mets to win the World Series because you're going to say, if they play the Yankees, because you're going to hear it from all those Mets fans over there in New York. Trust me, Mike, I'm in the same boat, but with Dodger fans. I'm really hoping that Don's Mets go to the World Series, because you should see how unknowing this fan base is, especially how they promote this guy Ohtani. By the way, he's 7 batters away from batting right now. They just announced it at Fox. They just announced it everywhere, man. But I want to hear, Michael.
Well, I mean,
what are your
a couple of
thoughts on
questions. First of all, they don't have to promote Ohtani. He promotes himself just well. I mean, he's a 50-50 guy. He's a great player. So don't make it out to be like they're promoting some hack. He's unbelievable. Who would be tougher for the Yankees? I think both the Dodgers and the Mets would be. I think the Yankees should beat the Guardians. If they don't, I would be really surprised. Yankees should go to the World Series, and I think if the Mets win, the Yankees will have home field. If the Dodgers win, the Dodgers have home field. Both of them present problems. I don't know. I would think the Mets probably present more problems than the Dodgers. The Dodgers have a great bullpen, but you can get to their starters. I mean, they have Yamamoto and they have Flaherty, and that's it. They don't have anybody else. I mean, Game 2 of the NLCS, and they just started an opener.
Yeah, but that's what I was thinking until they lose Game 1, and now 6-1. I guess the opener doesn't matter anymore with bases loaded, nobody out. Dodgers are a good team. Could we at least say it's not really saying much of anything that the World Series will be the toughest test?
Yes, for the Yankees. Yes,
for the Yankees, there's no question. So that's a big out as Smith pops out in the infield. So to be able to get an out here without giving up a run, and now sets up a double play to see if they can't sneak out of this inning. That's a big out for Maton.
Let's go to Dennis in Connecticut. Dennis.
Hey, how's it going? Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Welcome aboard.
So just piggybacking off of Dennis from Huntington, I tried calling early August, wanted to discuss about the wire to Peter and Don, and the call dropped. So I'm not blaming him, but could it be he doesn't like Dennis callers?
Well, I mean, let's let you in on a little secret on what Anthony's job is, Dennis, and we thank you for the phone call. He has to tell whether or not you're going to be a good caller, and if he thinks you're going to be crappy, he's going to hang up. Those are the rules of engagement. He's the guy at the moat. He lets you in the castle or not.
Right.
We depend on his judgment. Sometimes it's poor, but still we depend on it.
Most times poor.
And once you get on the air, that's all Anthony. If you get disconnected after that, that's on whoever's running the board, Jacob or Tom.
Exactly. It varies.
Now let's go to Dennis in Huntington.
There he is, Dennis.
So thank you for inviting me back. I really appreciate it. This time I called, Anthony's mood completely changed. I don't know what happened there. I don't know.
Really? He was upbeat when you spoke to him.
He's a delight.
Very upbeat. I don't know if he had a hit of the bubanja or whatever.
I don't think
so. He was very, very respectful.
Oh, that's nice to hear, Dennis. We're glad you guys worked through it.
Base hit for the Dodgers.
Yeah,
2 runs.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no. That's too bad.
By the way, that's another tough play at second.
Well, it wasn't easy. It got past. Did it get past Alonso or did it get past Iglesias?
It's Alonso.
Yeah, that was not an easy play.
No, it's not an easy play.
It would have been a nice play. Knock it down, save a run, but just got through him.
So I did call earlier last week saying that I have like the family divided. Half our family's Mets fans, half of our family's Yankee fans. But I kind of wanted, and I said I wanted to see the Mets in the World Series if the Yankees get there. But I'm kind of wanting to see this Dodger team. Like, their pitching is god-awful. It is terrible.
No.
They had 33 straight innings.
They're starting pitching.
The starting pitching, right. But, yeah, I mean, that's all they got? Because this is pathetic what they're doing, what they're showing today.
Well, I mean, Dennis, now I'm seeing why Anthony, goodbye. They just had 33 straight scoreless innings. So they didn't have a great game today. They had 33. That tied a postseason record of the Orioles. By the way, that was in the World Series. That's why these postseason records are bogus. 33 World Series scoreless innings are bigger than 33 innings in the postseason. But I mean, you jumping on the Dodgers pitching, they just went 33 straight innings. They don't have good starters, but they have a great bullpen.
They just showed the reverse angle of that base hit, Michael. Alonso should have
He should have knocked it down. Yes, I saw that.
Now, it would have been a nice play, and he probably only gets the one out, so a run scores.
Don't you think he was also distracted by the runner in front of him?
He might be, but that's why I was saying, just knock it down. All you have to, on that play, instead of trying to make the play in that situation with a 6-1 lead in the fifth, just knock it down. Don't let 2 runs score where it could have just been the 1 run. But, it did get through him. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt on not making the play, Michael. But if you knock it down, it saves a run. So we'll see where this goes here.
Let's go to Luke in Long Island. Luke.
Yeah, first off, Mike, just want to say, Michael, huge fan. Just as a Yankee fan, very privileged to have you announce 162 games a year. So first off, just want to say thank you to that. But
thank you.
Just want to ask you about, 135. Sorry, you get my.
What a friend I have. Don't I have a great friend, Luke?
By the way, you deserve it. So you deserve that and so much worse for how you talk to me, you monster.
Well, I really just want to ask you about Rodon tonight. In terms, I mean, it was pretty obvious he adrenaline dumped in second, third inning, even in the first inning, to be honest, in the DS there. So, how do you feel about his mindset? I would just say, coming into this game, are you confident? He can lock in, focus, learn some things from Garrett. Hold his composure, etc.
Well, I think that experiencing it for the first time, I think he will probably try to deal with the adrenaline a little bit better. The adrenaline did get him through that first inning. He looked dominant, throwing 98, 99. I think he was pitching a very good game until he hung the slider to Sal Perez, and then I think he became discombobulated. So I think he's going to pitch better today. I think that's the Yankees. That's the Yankees' hope. That's why they decided to start him. I don't agree with the people who say, "Well, they should have started Heel." They should have started Heel on 9 days rest. And then what you're doing then is you're going to have Rodon on 9 days rest in Game 3. Why would you do that? He pitches better at Yankee Stadium. So, no, I think this was the move to make. I think he's going to be fine. You can't give up on a guy he had 1 bad inning. He pitched 3 really good innings. He had 1 bad inning. I'll take my chance with him. Bases loaded for the Dodgers, 1 out. Kike Hernandez with the foul mouth. He's at the plate.
Foul mouth Kike. That's what we call him. Oh, man, this is tough. 1 out. Scary situation.
You're even nervous. I can hear it in your voice.
Well, listen, for Mets fans here, you go from up 6-0, a chance to get right back in the series. If you somehow blow this game,
this would be a tough one.
Not all losses are equal. That is a really tough one to bounce back from. Don, you'd agree, right?
Oh, without question.
Sure, say it to everybody.
Without question. Listen, just win, but it's not. You're going to have to find a way here at 6-3. I'd love to see what those winning percentages would be, what they popped up on ESPN when the games were in the divisional round. But just get a win. But this would be a tough one.
Hard hit on the ground. 1, 2. No, did Pete come off the bag?
No, they got him. They might review this, but that's a big.
If Pete was on the bag, that's a big double play to get out of things.
That's so far ahead of me.
They're not running off the field either.
They're not. No, Pete's immediately standing there nervous that he didn't get. Which, by the way, it's the difference between the inning being still happening and a run getting in.
I don't know. His foot looked like he came off.
Oh, boy.
The little bobble there by Vientos kind of rusted at second, too.
I need a better.
That angle didn't do it. Hold on. His foot is. He got it.
I can't tell.
I think he's still on it, Don.
Well, the Dodgers are going to.
No. It's a run scored, and it's 1 out.
No,
2 outs in the inning.
2 outs now. Ooh, almost broke Iglesias' foot. Did you see that, Don?
No, because that little bobble by Vientos kind of screwed up the end of the
that
double
shot
play.
There looks like his foot could be on the bag.
I know. They'll wait for the next angle.
One from second base, Michael, that you should be seeing about now, I think shows that his foot was off the bag.
And what we're describing, he's stretching toward the outfield, and in trying to keep his foot on the bag, the throw beat him.
The throw was there, but it was probably 3 feet.
Ooh, he could have broke his ankle there.
Well, you're referring to the bag at second?
I think he's out.
No,
I think his foot's on the bag.
You think his foot's on the bag?
I do.
How do you like that, Don? Michael K says foot's on the bag.
What?
I really hope we get a resolution before we go off the air here in the next minute and a half. This is
It shouldn't
huge.
take that long. I guess the longer it takes, the better it is for the Mets, right?
Well, yeah, because at first we thought it was very
got him.
straightforward.
His foot's on the bag. There's no doubt.
I don't know. The one we saw from second base, the second base angle, right, Peter? It looked like it was off, but
It did. This is really tough. And they got him. Of course. So they'll get out of the inning.
They got him.
6-3. Woo! That could have been worse, Don. It would have been 6-4 with 2 out. Instead, they end
But
the
now
inning.
you have to get 9 outs and just a 3-run lead. It's not 6-0 anymore. But I thought that was a good call. I think that is great play by Alonso, and unbelievable ankle flexibility by Iglesias not to have his foot broken.
Well, you're right. And now seeing it again, Michael, I see what you're saying. That knee slid right into his ankle.
Awful.
That is close.
All right, we're going to have the breakdown of this tomorrow. We'll have the breakdown of the Yankees and the Guardians game 1. Don, right after this, is going to have the Ranger pregame show. I mean, so much to do.
It's legitimately, I'm not even kidding. In the 8-9 years I've been on this show, tomorrow we will have about as much to talk about when it comes to New York sports as we've ever
And we
had.
have that 1 15-minute break in the middle of the show, though.
What do you mean?
We'll have our shoes on, so we can take a breath and shower
That's just
up.
not nice.
Ambassador Johnson?
how I feel about it. I mean, it's not a nice thing to say, but it's not incorrect.
Yankees-Guardians pregame show coming up on the Ranger game pregame show coming up right here on 1050. Yankees and the Guardians will also follow the Mets and the Dodgers, so stay tuned. See you, everybody.